fight. We don't have to kill. Everybody in the whole wide world really just needs to chill. No, we don't have to fuss, no, we don't have to fight.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Just Chill with Oliver George. This is episode 96, and my guest this time around is a very accomplished stand-up comedian who is known to many as the king of crowd work, and rightfully so. But before we get into it, I want to remind you, if you're watching on YouTube right now and you would prefer an audio-only version, you can get that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and other places like that. If you're listening to me on one of those platforms, though, and you didn't realize there was a visual side to this show, please come check it out here on YouTube. If you do come over to this side of things, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. You obviously don't have to, but it helps me to keep growing this channel, and I love connecting with new people. So if this is your first time stopping in or you're a longtime fan of the show, thank you so much for the support. If you want to reach out to me, maybe with a cool guest idea or some general feedback about the show, you can hit me up on social media or send me an email at justchillpodcasting@gmail.com. Let me know if you have interest in one of these holofoil stickers with the show's logo, and I will mail you one free of charge. Another thing we have to mention again is the live 100th episode that we're doing. We finally have some details for you. It's going to be Tuesday, July 11th at Yuck Yucks, Ottawa's West End location. Christina Mjolkberger is going to be there, as we mentioned last episode, but now we have locked in Derek Sange as well, who we've wanted on this show for quite some time. I know my dad's a very big fan of his as well, so that's huge, and we can't wait for that. So more details to come as they develop, but that's what we know for now. Now, back to the guest, the man of the hour, as I often say. Very excited to have you here. You've got two specials on Amazon Prime. You've got a new one that just dropped called I'm Sorry, I'm Not Kevin Hart, which is a great name for a special.
Thank you.
You've got a wicked special on Dry Bar Comedy, which if you haven't seen that, like, stop watching this podcast, pause this, put a pin in it, go watch that, and then come back because it's phenomenal. Really mind-blowing stuff. And you're touring constantly. I was looking at your tour dates, and I could not believe how many cities and how many dates you're hitting. I think I counted 66 between February and the beginning of July, which is just bananas to me. It's Jeff Leeson. Thank you so much for stopping in.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
And you're doing a show tomorrow night at the Brass Monkey. Unfortunately, when this goes up on YouTube, that date will already have passed, but I'll try to...
What a time we had.
Yeah,
what
there you go. Yeah, we'll talk about it retroactively.
That was one of my favorite shows, one of my favorite crowds. Boy, Ottawa was fantastic that night.
Except for that one guy.
Yeah, that one guy was a real... Can I swear on this?
Oh, yeah.
Piece of shit. He was a real piece of shit, that guy. God damn.
Fucking
we had to get him out. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. What he did outside, you know. But,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When he took his pants off.
Oh, my God.
Like,
for no reason.
Who does that?
Why take your pants off? I understand you're upset. We had to kick you out of the show, but there's no need to take your pants off and do that in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's, you know.
That one
and for
woman
him to come back in without pants on, I mean, crazy.
Just dick flopping around.
Yeah, that was huge. That was unbelievable how that grew. You know, that seemed to grow in real time.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
It was unbelievable.
You should have been there.
Yeah, should have been there.
Speaking of Ottawa, I actually want to know if you have any fond or notable memories from Ottawa. I know you're from London, Ontario, so I have to imagine you've been here before.
Yeah, the most fond memory I have is the most recent show I did there. This guy took his pants off when he went outside. Didn't we just go over this?
No. Okay, second craziest memory or fondest memory of Ottawa.
Yeah, of Ottawa. I'm trying to think. I've only been here, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 total shows. Like, so I'm trying to think if there's any, like...
You never came here as a youth to see the Parliament buildings or any of that shit?
No.
They're not that interesting.
I don't think so. No, we would go to Toronto was the furthest like trip we took. But no, I've never been a politic person or interested or, you know what I mean?
Well, we get labeled as kind of the city that fun forgot a lot of the time.
That what forgot?
Yeah, that came out weird. Fun.
Oh, that fun forgot?
Yeah.
Really? I've always found Ottawa fun, no?
Well, that's refreshing to hear. Yeah, we kind of have a reputation for being the people who sit during concerts and everything's closed down early, kind of. I mean, at least in comparison to...
What are you supposed to do during a concert? You're there to listen.
Well, stand up, dance, get into it.
Down. See, you're not obnoxious.
You'd fit in well here.
Yeah, I would love it here. I would love to see people sitting. There's nothing worse when you're at a concert trying to sit and enjoy the show. Some asshole is up in front of you.
Well,
I'd
if I'm at like
go to a concert here.
If it's outdoor like Blues Fest or something, I feel like I want to be up, moving around, really feeling the music. But if it's like an arena show, I would agree with you. Yeah.
See?
If you're sitting at
I love it.
Yeah.
Love what you're doing here.
Well, I want to talk to you about how you got into comedy because I was really, really impressed and kind of flabbergasted to read that you started at 14 years old.
I did.
Which is, and by the time you finished high school, you were already like full-time into comedy basically, right?
I try right after high school. I did give it an attempt full time, and booked like a little mini tour for the summer, but it wasn't really full time because I wasn't able to sustain it right away. I was only 18 or 19, so yeah, I had to have like other jobs and
Yeah, it doesn't pay that well until you're big time.
It still doesn't really pay that well. I mean, it's, this is not, if you're looking like for a lot of money,
not everyone's going to be a Bert Kreischer or whatever.
Certainly no.
Face on a bus.
Absolutely not. So yeah, it's, it was like, yeah, right after high school, I was making a little bit of money, but it wasn't till, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago that I was like full-time where it was, I didn't have to do anything else.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, when you were at that young age though, 14, 15, whatever, how did you even get into comedy clubs, or were you doing it at other places like?
No, my mom would take me. So my mom would basically pick me up after school, and there was nothing really going on in London at the time, so we had to travel. So we would go to Hamilton, Niagara Falls, Toronto, where else? We went a bunch of places, but she would pick me up. We would go like grab a bite to eat, whatever, and then hit the road, get somewhere by 6 or 7 or whatever, do the show, and then drive home. And, she would go to work the next day and I would go to school the next day. It wasn't every night, but it was consistently until I could drive on my own.
You weren't like worried you wouldn't get in sometimes? Go on these treks and then get there and they'd say, sorry, this kid's not allowed in here because we got alcohol.
We would call ahead. Call ahead.
Smart.
Two things. One, I always looked a little bit older than I was, so the odds of me getting questioned were very slim, but I would call ahead and then my mom would, get on the phone,
chaperone you,
whatever she had to do to be like, don't worry, I'm with him and I agree that he can go in.
I mean, I can just think about myself at 14, and I did some public speaking for school and stuff, but I never would have had the balls to go to like a bona fide comedy club. And
yeah, I didn't actually go to clubs until I was 16. The 14, like starting at 14 was like, okay, what happened was I told my mom, this is what I want to do. And she had been to a comedy club and saw somebody just get like crazy heckled to the point where she was like, I can't let you do this. If this is a possibility, you're far too young for this.
Yeah.
So she said, but if this is what you want to do, let's do our own show. We'll invite friends and family and your hockey teammates and your coaches and, all that kind of stuff. And we'll throw our own show. You can test out what you want to try. And if this is for you, we can work towards someday, going to a comedy club or doing an amateur night or whatever. So she really, that was the first time I did like 2 of those, maybe 3 of those between 14 and 15, along with some other like talent show type little situations at school. And something happened on the third one where somebody heckled me and I just like, it didn't faze me and I was able to deal with it. And my mom was like, okay, well, if you can handle hecklers, then let's try like a club.
Yeah, because if she sees you handle yourself in that situation, she might have had a shift like, okay, this could actually be confidence building to let him do this,
Yeah. She also knew that it was a dream of mine to do, and she didn't want to be the one to be like, no. She didn't want to just flat out
That's a good
say
mom.
no. Yeah, she is amazing.
Is your mom still with us? Yeah.
Yeah. She's not with us here.
Well, no,
but
I don't know.
Wouldn't that be crazy if you're like, is she still with us? And I'm like, no. And you're like, actually, Betty Leeson, everybody. My mom's the greatest. And I would be absolutely nowhere. I would never have done comedy if it wasn't for my mom. If she said no, I probably would have just been like, yeah, you're right. It's dumb. That's a dumb thing to think. And I don't even know what right now. And and she's done way more than that throughout the years, like just, you know, financially when you're in tight spots, or if I needed stuff, like
She always had your back.
always, man. Like it was, yeah, she's the best and still is. I mean, she's the greatest, probably the greatest human I've ever met. Or
Well, that's really amazing of you at that age to already have such a clear view on what you want to do and the dream you want to chase.
Yeah, my mom thought it was a total phase. I mean, she would at that time, she would be like, I don't want to talk you out of this, but also this will pass. Like, this is just something you want to do because you're
a backup plan, maybe.
14. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, she just it probably honestly wasn't until I was like well into my 20s starting to headline bars where she was like, oh, I don't think this is a phase anymore. Seems like he's not giving this up, this kid. So yeah, I mean, it was a total,
in her defense, though, how many teenagers have those like momentary dreams that kind of just dissolve?
oh yeah.
into nothing?
And I mean, before that I wanted to be a goalie, like an
I had that
NHL
written down
goalie.
here, yeah.
I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. But then I found out like you either need to be a former retired goaltender with a bit of a name, or at least played a few games, or you need to go to broadcasting school. And I was like, there's no way I'm doing any school past what I mandatory have to do.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere further. So this became the thing.
That's how I was with math class. I was the same. As soon as I didn't have to take math anymore, I was like, thank God.
Dude, I took math for everyday life. Have you ever heard that?
No. That sounds useful, at least.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do your taxes and...
Yeah, they tell you like rent stuff, money, like, keeping track of money and like like what you should pay, change, like all that, all that kind of stuff.
Stuff
and
that's
then
actually relevant.
Yeah. And it was in high school, and it was like the way our high school worked, you had to do, I forget what they're called, but it was like basically like minor math or major math, but they were called something else. It was like
Advanced or something.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's like advanced university level, and then way below it's like math for everyday life. And as soon as I could take that, because you couldn't take it in grade 9, so it was beyond that. And as soon as that was a choice, I was like, give me that one. I don't want to.
I'm not going to be a physicist. So,
yeah. I don't need to know what a fucking parabola is. That will never come up. It's never. I remember talking to a teacher after my math teacher, like after everybody was gone. And I was like, honestly, this will never come up in my life. And she was like, well, you never know. And I'm like, no, I do know. Like, this will never come up. And I was absolutely 100% right. I was dead right. That's never come up other than in these situations.
You should look her up.
Maybe
and
she was
like,
right,
boom.
actually. I might owe her an apology. Here it is coming up. And it's goddamn on camera, too.
Yeah, well, I mean, truly, how often does someone ask you to describe like a rhombus to them or something?
No,
There's
never.
A lot of shit like that.
Never. I haven't even heard that term in years.
It's a geometric shape of some
Sounded
kind. That's
dirty
about all I
at
know.
first. You know what I mean? Sounds like you're asking me to show me your ass.
Show
or
me your
something.
rhombus.
Yeah. It's crazy.
We had a class, not
Sorry,
math.
before we continue,
Oh, yeah,
can I just
yeah.
ask a real quick question?
Sure.
Is that a wrestling ring down there?
Oh, yeah, it's for a board game. It's like a wrestling board game, but everybody's like, fantasy, like orcs and shit like that fighting. And
Oh, shit, really?
And yeah. I haven't even played it yet because I still got to paint them.
Board game? What? How do you fight? How do you fight?
Chucking dice. Like there's rules. You can throw people out of the ring, but it's all based on dice rolling and.
Are the orcs and shit based on wrestlers, or are they just?
No. It's all original creations for the game. Then
Did you make it?
No,
Or
no,
this is-
God,
oh, okay.
no. I'm still
Damn,
waiting
wouldn't that
to.
be crazy if that was your prototype down there?
I wish, man. That's one of my life dreams to design a board game, but
It totally looks like something. Now, I don't know you, but just being in here, it does look like something you've been working on for
Yeah, I
the
could've
last
probably
5 years.
convinced you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every night you come down and you work
Tinker
on
with it.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. I
I'll
got
put a
really
picture of it so people
I was
know what
like,
we're
there's
talking
no way I can continue. I'm staring at it the whole time, and I don't want to be rude to you.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm huge into board games, so if people have questions about any of the games I
What's your favorite board game of all time?
You wouldn't know any of them, I don't think, if you don't play
Okay.
games. I'm not going to say like Scrabble or something. We have 3 that are kind of our top 3. My fiance and I. There's one called Rift Force, one called War Chest, and another one called Radlands. And those are kind of our 3 favorites right now.
Okay. I'm sure you're familiar with the game Risk.
Yes. Risk is cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
My friend and I, when we were in high school, we used to play that game all the time, but the problem is you can never finish a game. Like, it goes on and on and on.
Days
right?
sometimes,
And the more, so we had one that lasted like after school Friday till Sunday.
Damn.
And we like, we would get together for a few hours, and it just was like going nowhere. So we altered the rules and made it
Nukes
so
or
that
something.
yeah. So we but in a still, like, not in a crazy way, but where you could travel the ocean, so you could get places like to an island. We added some islands and shit that weren't in there.
You tried to keep it balanced still, though.
Yeah. And everything, we took like the real rules and then we added to it what we thought was with it. So it's not like you can take a helicopter and drop a bomb and all of your guys are dead. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like you still had to be strategic, but we added in like bigger fights. So more people were getting taken out at a time. You really had to kind of keep your armies together instead of that spread them out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you could travel by water and like pop up and,
That's awesome.
kill. Yeah. And I tell you, we were finishing games like 1 to 3 hours.
Oh, you should put them online somewhere, because you'd be surprised. Almost any popular board game has a bunch of people posting house rules, and as long as they're all agreed upon by the people at the table, who gives a shit, right?
Yeah. It was a great way to play that. And anyway, that was my favorite. I'm not a huge board game, but that was like my favorite all-time game.
I'd say out of the traditional sort of old school board games, Risk is definitely one of the coolest. And it's one.
Yeah, it was great.
They've
It
done
was
a lot
so
of like
cool.
reskins too. They've had like Risk Godstorm, where it's like gods fighting or something. I think there's a Game of Thrones one probably.
I got really into a Monopoly, an online version of Monopoly, not online, but like on your computer.
Yeah.
Where it just, because that was another one that went on and on forever, but where you didn't have to like count all the money. It just kept it all.
Streamlines it a bit.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. It was the best way to ever play Monopoly.
There's actually a lot of people that use this thing called Tabletop Simulator, especially people who are designing games and they want people to try them, or if they've got a Kickstarter going. And I don't use it a lot, but I know tons of people that do. And for that reason, it's more convenient. You can play with somebody across the world. But I got to say, one thing I love about board games is the tactile, put your phone down, let's just sit around a table and kind of, have this
Yeah.
experience together. I think that's what I love most about board games. So I've never been tempted to do that online version. But it's cool that it's out there for people who are into it.
Yeah, I almost lost a friend over Monopoly one time.
Yeah, there's a lot of fights.
You know what happened? This is my greatest. Sorry, we really got off on a tangent here.
Yeah,
on board
tangents. That's all podcasting is about, man.
But one of my favorite, well, it was one of my favorite things that ever happened, one of his least favorite things. But basically, we were playing Monopoly, and I was down to like my last $100. I was game over, and he spotted me. Like, my buddy spotted me like 1,000 or whatever it is, like not a lot, but enough to pay a
To
rent on
scrounge by a
something.
little longer.
I end up like crawling back. I somehow, and I won. I beat 2 other guys, and including him, who was the final one.
Damn.
That I took out.
I didn't even know you could lend money to people in Monopoly.
You can't,
That
but
was
we
another
just
house rule. Okay.
yeah. I mean, that was a little bit of a point of contention at the end.
Yeah.
Was it's not even legal that I did that,
Yeah.
and I thought, well, it was agreed. Like, I didn't steal the money. It wasn't like I took it.
Yeah,
He
it
was
wasn't like shady.
And here's why he did it. I was about to be beaten in record time. Like, I just had
It was a pity.
everything fell apart, and we all were trying to hang out on a Saturday. So I'm literally going to watch 2 guys play Monopoly for some but who knows amount of time. And he was like, out of, pity, was like, you know what, man, here, I got, whatever, just take that and that'll keep you in the game for a little bit longer. And I won.
Damn, what a turnaround.
Yeah, he was very upset. And I tried very hard not to be, too
dick
happy
about
in
it.
front of him. Yeah, I wasn't going to be like, yeah, in your face.
That's
But
the
he
thing with
was
house
very
rules.
upset.
You got to agree on them before you start the game, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you could just keep kind of shifting things like, oh, yeah, my hotel's got armed guards now. You're like, what?
Yeah.
That's a thing? You bring risk pieces into Monopoly. It's just like, got to hold
Not
down the
allowed
bunker.
to shoot the shoe. What's going on? It's not part of Monopoly.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. Pre-tangent, though, yeah, we were talking about stuff in school that's actually useful.
Yeah.
And I was thinking we didn't have that everyday math, but we did have like a civics class where they taught us how to do resumes and shit like that, which I appreciate.
Yeah, we
at
had that.
age.
Yeah, business. There was a business introductory, or whatever that word is that I can't say. And then civics, and that was the same thing, teaching you how to put together. My first resume for a job ever was done in that class. Like,
Yeah,
they're like,
that's what I did too. That's how I got a teenage job.
You had nothing. So they had to like kind of, in a way, sort of teach you how to bullshit.
Kind of.
Which became every resume I ever had. I sounded
your
so
selling
important.
points.
Yeah. And then big font, where it's
font.
like
Fill more of the page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's great.
And they get you to dig up all the stuff you didn't even realize you could put on a resume, like something from when you were in camp, or like, oh yeah, you won that one relay race. Put that on fast.
Yeah. This guy's going to get our produce pretty quickly here.
Yeah,
He's good with the
exactly.
relays.
Swift on the groceries. Yeah.
Is that a working...
Oh yeah, I usually challenge people to a match after the podcast. So.
Oh, really?
if you
Yeah,
have
you'll
time and all that.
destroy me. I'm terrible at
It's a button masher, so it's kind of like it's like a Mortal Kombat type,
There's no way I'm good at it.
No worries.
There's just
I'll
no
play
way.
your buddy then.
Oh, he might be.
Yeah.
Kyle, are you good?
Oh, I'll be good.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
I've never played that specific one, but
I've never seen him be that confident about anything
So
in my
Kyle
life.
can
And he is
play-
working on his confidence right now.
it's going really.
It is going really well, but he's not usually that confident. So,
He seems chipper about it. Yeah.
yeah, he does. But
right,
you
well, now
must
I'm
be
excited.
amazing. This is in your basement. There's no way you're...
I think the score against the guests, first of all, not everyone plays me. Sometimes there's no time or they're not interested, but I'm definitely beating the guests at this point in the running
course.
total, but not by a whopping margin, I don't think.
Is that out of pity?
No,
Is that
I
what
never
you're doing?
hold back and
Oh,
try
you don't
to,
hold
no.
back. Okay.
'Cause again, I don't know.
I would like to play you.
Okay.
And then if we have time, I would love for him
Sure.
to take you on, because I'm curious to see what happens here.
See if he can live up to this confidence that he's exuding.
I'm so excited for it. I've never seen that before.
It also depends which character you pick. That can have a big influence on the gameplay too, because some guys are big and clunky.
Who's your do you play as the same person all the time?
No, I switch it up.
Do you let
Just
the
for fun.
guest pick your guy?
Yeah,
girl?
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
I feel like that's
Fine.
only fair, isn't
yeah,
it?
well, I definitely, you're right. If I had a go-to that was like my cheap character, then
Yeah.
that would be, but I don't have that.
I'm glad you don't do that. I'm glad you don't.
I don't have time to
That
learn
shows
all the
character.
moves. No, thank you. I appreciate that.
No pun intended, because we are also talking about the characters in the game.
That's true.
But you've shown character here today by not doing that. But
You've never played that though, eh? That game?
I don't even know what it is.
Marvel versus Capcom, or this one's just Marvel superheroes actually, but it's like a Street Fighter, but with Marvel people.
Green Lantern, is he in it?
That's DC.
Fuck. See, I do that every time.
That's Warner Bros.
Yeah, I did try.
That's okay.
I led with one. Is he like one of the least popular?
No,
Lantern?
Green Lantern in DC is one of their big guys for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's
I was
part of the
trying to
Justice
lead with
League.
one that was like people would know it, but it sounded shitty.
You just got the wrong universe.
Yeah. See, I can't keep track of all this universe shit, man.
I've been learning since I was a kid. I mean, my dad's got like 20,000 comics in his office there.
Yeah,
So
this angle of your Brian, right? Yeah, this angle of your dad is amazing too, because I know that he's looking at like your camera stuff because he's the behind the scenes guy, but it looks like he's watching a game on on this
he's
right now
just-
and could not give too much of like at all of a shit about what's going on here. He's
No,
like,
no.
Are we back to the Marvel thing? Yeah, fuck it. Boston's playing.
my dad is not even a big sports guy, so that doesn't pan out. But I don't know. Do you ever just scroll the internet when you get bored? I don't think so. The camera switch is like he's doing a live camera switch every time one of us starts talking.
No, I know. It's just from this angle, it looks like that's not at all.
Like
It's
he's
solitaire. Like he's
fucking
crushing
the dog.
solitaire right now.
Yeah.
Brian, are you good at this game?
Have
No?
you even played it? I don't think you've
You've
even
never played it? Oh, no. This is how
Maybe
they
once.
sucker you in. Yeah. He goes, I've never played it. And then you challenge him and he whips
All right, we're
your
having
ass.
a tournament. Clearly now
Yeah.
we're gonna have a
Let's wrap this up
elimination
so
round.
we can get this tournament underway.
Oh man.
How's the podcast? We were there till 4 a.m.
Yeah. We had to do another tiebreaker.
Kyle lost in the third overtime.
Oh shit! I gotta get back to these notes, I guess. Oh well, I wanted to know: were you like before deciding you wanted to do stand up? Were you already kind of like the class clown? Because I read that you were the valedictorian and you gave a speech in 8th grade, and I was wondering if that was sort of like a jumping off point for you to realize, like, oh, I kind of like this attention.
That was so first of all, I was not the class clown at all. I was very quiet, kept to myself,
Kinda
was not
reserved.
obnoxious, and wasn't like, hey, what? Like, I just wasn't that guy.
Bombastic like that, yeah.
Yeah. But what I could do is, like, whoever was around me, I could make a comment about something and get a laugh about whatever was going on. More like commentary, but very quiet. So like they would sometimes get in trouble from their laugh, but the teacher never really realized
You're like
it
a
was
joke
me.
ninja, just
Yeah, in a way. But I was also very quiet. So like teachers would write on, report cards and stuff like, Jeff does not apply himself. Jeff does not speak up in class. Jeff never raises his hand. Jeff does not answer questions. Jeff's a little quiet, which I was, because I always hated school and I never gave a shit. And I always had the feeling of like, I don't think I'll ever use this. So I would be writing jokes or I'd be doing something, in that way. And then every once in a while I'd make somebody laugh around me, but it looked like I was just a kid that like was very quiet or awkward or whatever.
Yeah.
But I had friends and, I wasn't a weird kid. I was just quiet.
an outcast or anything.
No. I was like friends with every group. You know what I mean? I had buddies in each unit of the popular kids, the pog kids, not
The pog kids.
You know the kids that would play the pogs.
I was probably one of those kids at one point.
Yeah, like I played marbles at one.
I played
Remember that
marbles,
where
yeah.
you'd have to dig a hole with your foot and So like I would do that, and then I would play. I was also on the hockey team. Like I played hockey, so I went to school with a bunch of my hockey teammates, so I would know those guys as well. Just a mix. But I wasn't a class clown. What I did or could do was when we had to make a speech or a presentation or a book report or something, I just had a natural speaking ability, and I always loved comedy, everything. It was comedy shows, stand up. I used to watch every day. It just
for
became
laughs.
Just for Laughs, comedy at Club 54. They were
I remember
back
that
to back every day. They would put 2 Just for Laughs and 2 Club 54 at one point. So it was like a full 2 hours of stand-up comedy that I would just sit there and I was just like enthralled by it.
I remember not being able to get into comedy at Club 54 in the same way because it felt super dated already when it was aired. It already felt like it was from like the early 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And
90s.
sometimes there were great acts, don't get me wrong. Like I enjoyed it sometimes, but some people, there was a bit more of that like sort of old school hokey, like, hey, kind of comedian a lot with the blazer on and all that,
There was several of those. I loved those. Like all of it. I loved all of it. I was just enthralled that first of all, I could not believe these people were on TV making people laugh and they were filming them do it. And then I remember finding out they got paid for it. And I was like, what?
This could be your job.
Yeah, people get paid for this? What? Look how much fun they're having. Look how much fun the people are having. And they're like, they're just acting like an idiot. This is amazing.
Inspiring.
So, and so I was just like enthralled with that. So when it came time for like speeches in school and stuff like that, I could give a speech without, pissing my pants or being nervous or whatever. I was nervous, but like it was a nervous energy that I would put into whatever the presentation was. And so because of that, in grade 8, each class had to vote. There was 3 grade 8 classes. Each class had to vote their pick from the class on who should be in the running for valedictorian. And I got picked by my class because of my speech that year, which was what not to do on a date. And I went through all of the things. So like, instead of opening the door, don't don't open the door, and then shut it in her face and then make her open the door. Don't. And it was all these things you shouldn't do. And then it culminated in when you get to the restaurant, when you take a drink, make sure you hit your mouth. Don't pour it all over yourself. And I just poured it all over my shirt, wore like a gray shirt. So it really
was kind of like a stand-up bit almost.
It was totally more character driven because I was the narrator, but then also this idiot that was doing all this stupid shit that you shouldn't do on a date.
You're acting out these little sketches. Almost.
Yeah. So it'd be like, it was very, you know, Mr. Bean?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the live version?
No.
There's a live version that I don't know if they toured, but it's definitely on Just for Laughs years ago. And it's like a guy talking and Mr. Bean is acting.
Maybe I have seen this.
And there's a couple of them. So it's very much like that. It was like inspired by, except in Mr. Bean, it's a different guy. So it's one guy talking and one guy acting it out. I was like, okay, I'll be the guy and then I'll act it out. You know? Yeah. So that speech, I did it for my class. Then my teacher was like, will you do that again if I send you to the other class? Miss McCarthy would like, people were talking about it. Will you go do it for them? So I went over and did it for like another class. Yeah. And so that year was valedictorian year. So my class voted me in. I got voted in to go against the two most popular girls in school. And people knew me, but I wasn't like a, hey, what's up? You know, I wasn't.
You were like the quarterback.
No. I was just like, people, no one had an issue. I wasn't a fighter, so I wasn't causing problems. It was like, if you saw me walk down, I'd say, hey, Dave, you go, hey, Jeff, hey, Mike, hey, Jeff, hey, Steve. But it's not like, oh my God, Jeff, hey, what are we doing? You know, that's not me. I'm just like walking by, hey, what's up? So the two most popular girls in school get voted in, and I'm like, we all know it's going to be Kim. We all know Kim is getting it. She's basically been the leader of this school since she was in grade 5. She became this, you know, those people that are just in everything. They do everything. Class president, like the leader of every, and we were all like, obviously that's our valedictorian. Like there's no way. It goes to a vote, and I beat these two in an unbelievable upset.
Oh yeah, you beat them by a ton?
No. I don't know the numbers, but I mean an unbelievable upset of like
no one could believe that shit.
Who? What? And it was a vote of all 3 classes. So it was like people in other classes voted for me as well.
Probably because you went and did your speech over there too.
Yeah.
Damn.
And I mean, yeah, she was not happy. The girl that she thought it was going to be her.
The first time she didn't
get her way.
There was a
few teachers that were really pissed about it. My best friend, in high school, I remember him sitting down and with me. This is after school, and him being like, "It's, good for you, man, but it's just not right." And I'm like, "No, I know. Like I know. We all thought it was,
I didn't even know you could vote a valedictorian. I thought it had something to do with your grades. I thought you had to be like
that's in high school.
Oh, okay.
This was grade 8. So yeah, if it was grades, I wouldn't even be
in the running.
No, they would be like, okay, let's go through who it could be. Not him, meaning me, and then open it up to everyone else. No, I did not have the grades to do. So in high school, I mean, I wasn't even in the conversation. It's a guy who's a doctor now.
Shit.
That's the guy who, you know what I mean? Yeah, we took different paths.
Did you take the public speaking? Because I actually did pretty well in public speaking in grade 6 and grade 8, and I had to go to like the board finals or the regional finals or something like that.
God, I got fucked out of those.
Oh, you didn't win in your school?
Yeah. You know what? I'm still a little upset about it. So I should have, in your email, I should have wrote back. There's a few things I can't really talk about, and this is one of them. No, I'll tell you. Do you want to know what happened? I'll never forget this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The year that we're talking about, or a couple of years, whatever these years are, where you go and you do a speech, and then you move on to nationals or whatever, right? So the year I get to the dance, we called it. I get to the very final level, which is where the school, you do it at the school. If you win the school, you go to the next
Yeah.
one, right? So I get to the end of the school, and I got this speech that is all about commentating and announcing my mom doing the dishes, because I wanted to be a sports broadcaster.
Oh, so this is a different speech than the other
This
one.
is earlier.
Oh, okay.
This is earlier. I came in hard with that grade 8 shit after this happened 2 years
okay.
earlier. Yeah.
Just set the stage.
I told you this is a sore spot, so I might break down crying here. Brian, if you could just get the camera off me for a moment, if you see me openly weeping, that would be lovely. No, okay, so it was a great speech, and it was like I would do the Bob Cole, Harry Neal. Do you know those guys? Like
No.
Hockey Night in Canada back in like the 90s. They called all the Leaf games. Oh,
And I know like
Ottawa
Don
fan?
Cherry, like
Okay.
that's as far as I go.
They
back.
were Hockey Night in Canada guys. They did every Leaf game basically, but they were like, I loved the way they called games. So I did sort of an impression of what they
That
would
inflection.
do. Yeah, very, very so. I think I even used like a couple of their catchphrases or whatever. And it was all my mom, oh, she drops the glass. Oh my God. Like it was all that kind of stuff. Right. And so, and I mean, just dominated my class and moved on to the school. And I had these cue cards. They were green. I'll never forget it. Brian,
Not unlike my notes for
we
today.
got to move off. This is where the tears are coming. Yeah, they were very similar to this. These, whatever. So in the original speech, I do them and I put one behind the other, right?
Yeah.
I get to the finals and you got a microphone and there's a chair, an empty chair over here and an empty chair over there. While I'm sitting waiting for my turn, I thought, damn, if I could just throw these cards down, they wouldn't be out of order. I could just say it, set it down, say it,
Yeah.
set it down.
That's
I wouldn't
smart.
have to keep, right? That's what I thought. Disqualification because they didn't like the way that I took the cards and put them down. There were no rules. Nobody posted rules. Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
horseshit.
You see what I mean?
Yeah,
right now to this day, I'm still waiting. I put in a dispute at the time, and it's gone on this long. That was 20 something years ago, and I'm still bothered by it.
Well, that's
and I'm
pretty
still
bogus.
waiting.
I got to admit.
I
Yeah.
know.
That's
what I said.
not right.
That's
You
not
should be
right.
judged on the merit of your speech and your speech alone, not your card handling abilities.
I mean, I didn't word it like that because I was a kid, but I mean,
That's where your heart
I
was,
basically said that's dumb or whatever I said because I was a kid, and all because I put the fucking cards
that's
right
ridiculous.
on the chair.
I
Terrible.
agree. You need to have a redo.
I was robbed, right?
They
I
should
know.
let you participate with a new grade 6 class, and you'll smoke those fuckers now.
Yeah.
You've got so much stage experience.
Yeah, I don't even need the cards.
Yeah, exactly.
No cards
You'll
this
just
time.
crowd work that shit.
Bring it on. Bring it on, Glen Cairn Public School, grade 6. I want a rematch.
He's calling you out. I did well, I think, because my dad helped me on my speeches and making them really like scientific. So they were just impressed that I could like remember all this scientific mumbo jumbo and re-articulate
No cards?
it. I'm sure I had cards, but I had it pretty well memorized. I did in grade 6. I did one on the human heart, and that was, I guess, good enough because I got pretty far with that. And then grade 8, I did one on cloning, and that was like right after they had cloned Dolly the sheep, and it was very topical
God.
at the time.
Wow,
yeah.
we really did different stuff. You're like, I
would've
did it
never
on the
even
heart
thought.
and cloning. I'm like, yeah, I poured water on myself.
Yeah, but looking back, I'm like, man, it would have been so much more fun to do a funny one like that. I kind of wish I did.
I wish I was smart enough to do something on the human heart. So here we are.
It wouldn't have mattered the way you threw those cards away so
I know.
haphazardly.
God damn it. I'll never forget it.
Well, let's talk about your crowd work because it's something that you're so well known for. And I kind of wanted to know, like, we've talked to that you were well liked at school and you sort of weren't afraid to talk to people and the speeches must have helped. But crowd work and doing all that improvisational, there's a word that's hard, long form stuff, it seems super intimidating. I wondered, did that develop really organically when you started doing stand up? Where you really like, I've got my material, I'm sticking to it. I read something about a show in Indiana that was like very pivotal for you where you had to fill in for a headliner. And
Wow.
So I'm
Wow,
wondering,
where did you read that?
I found like old interviews from God knows who. I dig deep.
Damn.
Yeah, Indiana. It said you had to
Some
fill in.
Nardwuar shit.
Yeah. So is that really where the transformation happened, where you said, "Holy shit, I can do this"?
It wasn't the 100. It wasn't the full change, but it was a moment in a time where I was like, well, that was really fun actually doing all of
You were
that.
dabbling with crowd work before that, though?
Yeah, it was like, because I was very kind of like Jerry Seinfeld-esque when I started, in that it was all clean, very observational, little bit of personal stuff, but for the most part.
What's the deal? That kind of
Yeah, really that kind of stuff, but from a kid perspective. So that was one thing that was really tough in the beginning, is I'm talking about stuff to adults that are like, I'm like, what's with homework when they give you too much? And adults are like, dude, I got divorced yesterday. I don't give a fuck about your homework. Like, talk about some stuff.
I can't drink to this.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't done homework. I didn't even do homework back when I was supposed to do homework. Shut up and get off the stage.
I don't want to revisit it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, but I was just learning how to like do stand up then. I was just like learning how to, I tell people this all the time. If they ever ask about crowd work, I always say the best way to be any good at crowd work is to do regular stand up, whatever that is for you, whether it's one-liners, jokes, stories, whatever it is. Just do that for like a long time, get comfortable, and then whatever comes your way because of your natural comfort on stage, you can turn that into something because you've built up that confidence or, that intuition, that stage intuition, and you can get yourself in or out of whatever because the beats of how to write, how to end on a punchline, like if you start something with somebody, one of the biggest problems a lot of people have with crowd work is they start on somebody and then they get a big laugh, but they don't know where to go from there. Or is it done? Like, do we just leave it at that? Is there more meat on the bone? Is there, so
because you don't want it to fizzle out and kind of
you don't want to do. If it gets to joke 3 on this guy and they all hit, what if joke 4 tanks? You're not coming back with joke 5. It's like odds are they're going to stay down. And then that's where people kind of get into like, saying shit they wish they could take back because they're just trying anything.
They're trying to just escalate.
Yeah. And then it like crosses a line or something where now they're being insulting and it,
punching down in a big way.
Yeah. There's lots of things, but anyway,
but in Indiana, you had like 20-minute set or something, and then you had to fill all of a sudden like an hour.
Well, yeah, in Indiana, it was Angola, Indiana. And
how old were you at this point?
I was probably 21 or 22.
Oh, so you're still pretty young.
Yeah, very young, and it was I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I was booked there to headline, and an opener didn't show up. I think I was doing it was a bar gig, and it was ended up being this room that was on the side of a barn, which was a bar. So
weird.
Yeah, the room is like a banquet room, but the whole building is a barn. Part of it's a bar, and then this sort of venue, and yeah, I had to be headline. So it was like a very, very early headlining gig in America as a one-nighter in Indiana, which I'd never been to before. And when I got there, the opening act, like the booker, whoever called me and was like, yeah, they're not going to make it. So we need you to
stretch it out.
We need you to stretch. Well, he didn't do this. We were on the phone, but I'm sure maybe he did.
Maybe he did, yeah.
But he was like, yeah, we need you to fill the time. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. He goes, I mean, I was scheduled to do 60 minutes, which I had of material, not, I would say maybe, I don't know, 5 of that was maybe good, but I had it. And so we needed a 90-minute show. So I ended up mixing 60 minutes of material with 30 minutes of crowd work, but the crowd work hit way harder than the material. So it was like whatever I said to them about them, if it got to here, whatever I went back to was like boom, right here. So I kept basically restarting myself from zero, which is not.
Well, and that must make you feel
ideal.
like shitty about the material at that point too. If you're like,
Yeah, I mean, I knew it wasn't great, but what it helped me figure out shortly after that was I'm kind of doing my impression of what I think a comedian is or does. I'm not really standing out. What they remembered at the end of the night was everything I said about them. Everybody that I talked to, because of whatever reason I talked to them, everybody that heckled, they, at the end of the night, I was very early on in like trying to sell merch back then, was a huge like DVDs and CDs and stuff like that. I sold out of everything I had that night because they all, first of all, felt bad that I had no opening act. And secondly, they felt like they were a part of the show and really helped, in which they did, really helped it move along. And that gave them sort of like a real experience. And that was a very, in my mind, I remember being in the hotel that night and then somewhere else the next night, and it was a totally different show. And it was like, and I was like, damn, nothing was like last night. I mean, it was so dangerous, because it's like I'm kind of without a net for a little while, and then I go back and try this, and that didn't really do well. And then when I talked to them, it was like I could get them up a little bit, but every time I went to whatever I've said before, like it just would boom, So yeah, it was one of the early times where I was like, there's something there,
it's
but
kind of like an epiphany a bit.
Yeah. And then shortly after that, a friend of mine who was not a comedian, he just like started coming to a few shows and stuff. He was interested in getting into it. He eventually would do some like booking and producing and stuff, but he came to a show and it was very similar to Angola, except it was a shorter set. And he was like, hey man, you did like, 30 minutes of material with 15 minutes of crowd work, or 40 and 20 or whatever. That crowd work stuff, like that's hitting. You should do more of that. And I was like, yeah, I'm trying to work a little bit more. And he was like, you should just do that the whole time. That should be your whole thing. And I'm like, do you have any idea how fucking
Terrifying
insane it is to do? I have no idea. Like, I mean, when it's done, it's done. And like, if you lose them when you're talking to them, and it's all improvised, when you lose them, they're gone. You can't, you need, if I don't have the strong material to get them back, they're just gone for the rest of it.
Something. Yeah.
So I was like, there's no way there's no way that can't be done. That's just not possible. But I said, but I'll work on, doing it more, but not possible to do an entire headlining set with just that.
But if we fast forward to now, that's almost seems to be what you pride yourself on, is that you can do these long form improv sort of sets.
Yeah, now every show.
Do you bring
is
any
that.
material now, or it's just completely
No.
Damn,
no, I mean,
that's badass.
I have stuff if I need it. And certainly every now and then, like you'll do a corporate gig or you'll do something where it's just like people are tight and you can't get anything, or there's nothing, nothing there. So I have stuff, but no, I'll tell you exactly what happened. And it wasn't too long after that, the thing with my buddy there, but I got to a point where I think it was like 2009. I was like, I think I'm done. I think this is this is not really going anywhere. And I had done a stretch of being on the road. I was an opening act. I was doing this, part crowd work stuff, but it was just my set. And it was like, I wasn't getting anywhere or doing anything. And I was really like kind of burnt out. I was like, man, I'm traveling. I make no money. Like I'm losing so much money. And I still like lived in my mom's basement, or I don't even know if it was the basement by that time or if I was upstairs back in my like old room. But yeah, I mean, it was not going well. And I was like, damn, this is like, I don't think this is going anywhere. And I still had a couple shows like booked that I was like, I'm going to do those. And then, whatever. And then I'm done. And, two things happened. One is right maybe 2 weeks later, a guy asked me to be on a TV show that was filming in London. At the end of the show, I was a guest on the show. I did stand up and then an interview. At the end of the show, the next day, he was like, "Hey, we have this meeting, or we had this meeting, and they were wondering if you would host the show. It's like a late night talk show. The kid that we have, they were like, he's just not polished, but they liked your set and they liked how you guys riffed off each other. Would you considering hosting the show?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would love to. Like, I've thought about late night show."
Is like public access?
Yeah, it's like Rogers TV.
Oh, nice.
You know?
Yeah, like how Tom Green started, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. But in London. And so so I was like, yeah, I'd give it a shot. And I was like, I'm quitting stand up anyway. So, I might as well try something else and try this out. So I start doing that. At the same time, I have these gigs coming up, these stand-up gigs, and I'm like, I'm just going to do these, then I'll be done. I'll, try the TV thing for a while. So I go to these stand-up gigs, and my buddy goes, "Hey, if these are your last few gigs, who gives a shit? Just do crowd work.
It's a fair point.
See how much you can do, and just whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. These mean nothing, and I'll never do this again." So I go in first night, and I ended up doing like just under 90 minutes of just crowd stuff. Not all good, lot bad, really quiet, stretches, but it was so exhilarating for me. And I was like, whoa, this is the most fun I've ever had doing stand-up comedy. And I want to do that again. So we had another gig like the next Saturday. I do it again, tighten things up a little bit. Didn't go nearly as long, kind of kept a little bit better time and, whatever. But again, it was like, fuck, this is
It must be like skydiving without a parachute.
It was, yeah. I mean, I've never done that, but like, as close to a roller coaster. I don't think anyone who has
is here to talk about it.
No, I know. Well, did you say without a parachute?
Yeah. I mean, shit. Knowing that you don't have that ripcord of like material in your back pocket to rely on if shit goes awry.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was just so much fun. It was so crazy. It was the roller coaster when you get to the edge and that first drop. I mean, that was the feeling. And then it was up and down, because when you got them, man, you got them, because they knew this just happened. They knew I didn't come with this. But when you lost them, they were gone. They were fucking gone. And I had no real good. I had like one or two bits that I could go to that would get a good enough laugh that if I bring them back up where they're like, okay, we don't hate you.
We'll tolerate
but let's see what, comes next. But yeah. And so that was the sort of start of it. And then it was just like, okay, it was a random series of events was how those first few shows happened. And then at one of them, somebody walked in late to, I was on stage for maybe 15 to 20 minutes. These people come in late. I tell them everything that happened in the show, to like a thunderous applause, which I had never seen before. I'd never, ever gotten that level of applause before.
Almost like a standing O kind of vibe.
Yeah, but I mean, it was like, but I still had half my set to do, and it was
damn.
No way you're gonna close stronger than that. At the end of that show, I was like, whatever just happened there, that has to be the end. That has to be at the end. If that was at the end of the show, that would have been the greatest show of my whole life. And that's
basically how the Dry Bar special went.
Yeah.
That was something I was going to bring up later, because I found that crazy impressive that you could just recite all this stuff that clearly you didn't pre-plan. And that in itself is impressive, to be like, oh shit, he's making this all up and he's riffing with the audience. But then to just kind of like recount it all in chronological order without missing anything is just like flabbergasting.
Yeah. It all in that moment where those people came in, it was that night sitting in the hotel. I was like, I have no idea how, because I can't hire people to come in late, but how do I get that to the end and then show people like, you may have sat here this whole time going, what do I give a shit about that guy that I don't know and this lady? What is all this? Like, this is just a random series of events. But then you, at the end, it's like, I need something to show, like, no, this was a show, and here's the show, and here's the, you know, not only were you here for the show, you may have been a part of the show, you were maybe involved in the creation of the show, and how can I like personalize that for every crowd and make it
It's almost
an
like you're coming
experience.
up with like the track listing for that night's comedy album.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time.
So cool.
Not always good. I mean, you know, there's just, and some are way more crazy, and some towns have a lot more characters and just a lot more like little stuff, little local stuff that they like to feed you. And that's really got a lot of,
Do you try, like, I know a lot of comics do that where they'll roll into a town and then they'll try to ask people like, oh, what's the local this or that I can drop in my set to kind of have that familiarity, you know?
No, I used to, but now I want to know from them in the moment. I want to hear it. Not like, hey, tell me the name of your local strip club so I can say I was at Spanky's.
Everyone going to Beavers later? Or yeah.
Not that. I used to do that, but not that where where I'm like, where are you? Are you from here? Right?
Yeah.
If you are, then something about, and not everywhere will have something. Like some places are just, there's nothing. But if they have a team they support, if there's a weird name of a mayor, if there's a bizarre, if they're called something like Halifax, they call themselves Haligonians.
Yeah. What's up with that?
Exactly. What the fuck is that? Why? How do you do that? You just Halifaxians. Why are you not you're right? So like stuff like that. Those are the things I want to learn every time. And so they know this is the first time I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it from you. I didn't research it. I didn't look it up. I didn't, sometimes I'll know stuff because I'll see it on the way in. So like, I remember like one time up north, they had just built a Dairy Queen, and I go in talking about the Dairy Queen. What I didn't realize is there was a whole thing around this Dairy Queen, and people got involved, and it got like, people didn't want it. There was an old bar or
Major
whatever there.
backstory.
They had to tear it. Yeah. So I had no idea. So I'm just going on about this Dairy Queen, and people are going nuts. And I'm like, wow, these people really love Dairy Queen. But it wasn't. It was, I was upset because they were closed at 5. And I'm like, I want Dairy Queen at 5. Like, who's going between 9 and 5 to Dairy Queen? Like Dairy Queen is a nighttime snack,
Yeah, or
right?
evening, yeah.
Yeah. And that was part of their whole, their whole thing is like the Dairy Queen's coming in and they're only open till 5 o'clock and it's a Saturday. And, so anyway, stuff like that I love, but it has to be, for me, it has to be done in the moment. It can't be something I know, or I feel like I'm cheating them. And
Or maybe they'll know that you know.
Yeah. And if I know, I'll say I know. It's not like I'm going to pretend I don't know, and then you say it, and then I act like I'm not a good actor.
Feign confusion. Yeah.
So I'm not going to act like, oh my God, I've never heard this. If I've heard it, I'll say, I heard that on the way in, but I don't know what it means. And I'll let them, I want to know the meaning of shit. And like, and then my job is whatever they tell me, I have to take that and somehow make it funny. That's my job. What I love is I can ask a question. If I'm at dinner and I see people in the booth, I already think things about them and I want to go ask them, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
How do you know each other? Who are you to him? Who are you to her? How do you
You're a
four
curious
guys?
soul.
I'm very curious. So I found a way to, at my job, be perfectly normal for me to be like, what the fuck is what is this? What's going on? But in a curious, it's all based on curiosity. It's not based on, I want to make fun of you. It's not based on, I'm going to attack you. It's not based on
It's like exploring.
yeah, it's not about making somebody feel bad or going at like, if you're fat, I would never say anything about you being fat. It would be about your shirt, your job, your back, your hair, your wife, your girlfriend, your whatever, everything. But I'm not going to be
You're
like,
not gonna
hey,
take the easy
hey,
kill.
fat guy,
Yeah.
you know, or hey, fucking, you know, goof in the shirt, or like it's not about that. It's really about, I see something, I'm curious about them in some manner, and then where can we take that?
It's interesting that you mentioned not wanting to be mean or upset anyone, because that was one of my questions was, have you had a, you know, improv moment like that go really badly where something like someone got really pissed off or something along those lines?
Not, it happened once. It happened last October. We were in Foxborough, Massachusetts, and this guy, he goes, what was weird is he was laughing, right, at what I was saying. I was talking to somebody at his table, and he's laughing. So when somebody's laughing and I can make eye contact with them. If I see any sign of like, oh fuck, he looked at me, and you know, turn away or something, I'll never talk to them because I don't want to make them uncomfortable. This guy locked eyes, smiled, he's laughing, he looks like he's having a good time. And I asked him a question based on something that happened, I think, with his wife. And it was like a question about him, like, nothing bad. It wasn't like, you fucking your wife tonight. Like, it wasn't, you know, like, whoa, it was some question. He answered the question, whatever the first question was. The follow-up question, he's like, you picked the wrong guy, buddy. And I'm like
in a threatening way, even?
Yeah, but in a you
hear a gun like
yeah, he was also like a big guy, not like super jacked or anything, but big enough where it's like,
you don't want to tussle
probably
with him.
construction or something, where he's got that strength from lifting concrete all
Sledgehammers
day.
and shit.
Yeah. So it, you know, there was that. All that happened was I go, whoops, and I go,
People probably laugh.
Didn't mean to. Yeah, I picked the wrong guy, and quickly, I mean, as quickly as I got in, I'm out.
Nice.
And so it's not like I don't sit there and go, oh God, oh no,
I think you can
I
kick my ass.
picked the wrong guy. Oh my God, what are we gonna? And because now everybody smells fear, and now it's just like, this guy's not in control at all. So it's like, you know.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what I said. It was so quick. But I remember after being like, I don't want to, usually I come out as people are leaving and just shake their hand just to thank them for like coming to a comedy show. I appreciate
that's
anybody
a
willing
charming
to do that.
move.
Yeah. That night I was like, I'm not going out there. I don't want that guy. I don't know what he's going to do or if he would do anything. And I mean, for the rest of the show, he just sat and stared.
Oh, brutal.
He wouldn't laugh. And it was really weird. He was laughing before that. He was having a great time.
Wow.
And then some random question, not offensive, nothing. It was just like, pick the wrong guy, which I did.
I wish you remember what you actually asked him.
Yeah, it was like, the reason I can't remember it was something you would
So
never
trivial.
expect.
Yeah.
How are you, sir? You know, it wasn't that, but it was like,
Maybe a little bit more
Yeah.
elaborate than that, but I get it. That's
it was like, sir.
shitty.
Oh, you know what?
I'm amazed you can keep doing the show after while he's like,
Oh my God. It was so and he
throw
was like
me up.
right, you know, there. Like he's anytime I'm facing forward, I mean, if I go one down, he's right there. So it was like, his wife was loving the show.
she was still laughing?
Everyone at his table and loving
And
everything.
she never did any of these like,
She gave him one when he said, you picked the wrong guy, buddy. She gives him like a,
yeah,
you
don't
know,
be a dick.
Gary.
Yeah, what do you start?
One of those. It was over. You know what? It was. It was about him being it was something about him getting up early, or he put cameras in his house. Do you remember? Do you know the guy I'm talking about?
I know the guy you're talking about.
Yeah. It was like, you look like the kind of guy who gets up early in the morning when he doesn't have to, but he gets up just to tell people that he gets up. And his wife and everybody at the table and him are laughing, and they're all doing this as in like, you got him.
Yeah,
You know?
that's him.
And then I go, right, sir? And he kind of like laughed, and you know what I mean? He's laughing.
He was still with it.
And then it was, are you having a good night so far, sir? Or like, what's your name? Like, it was about to follow up with more about him, and that's when he was like, you picked the wrong guy.
Oh.
But he was laughing. He was laughing.
Yeah, that is
Let the
very
record show
bizarre
the
behavior.
fucking guy was laughing. But yeah, it was a very weird. It was also like a 4 p.m. show. It was like a very weird show and a weird time for him to be that mad.
That's what I was just gonna say.
He wasn't drunk or anything. He was just like, unless he had to skip dinner, like he usually eats at that time and then goes out later, and they had to go to the early show. It's like a weird early show.
He just maybe had like a panic moment when he realized the whole audience was sort of paying attention to him. Maybe he's just got like a
It was
public
something, yeah,
thing like that. I don't
something
know.
like that, because he immediately changed. Anyway, that's the only time that was really.
I mean, I think
anything.
that if you're going to a comedy show, you have to be at least a little bit loose. Like, I never get it when I see people, even who aren't being interacted with by the comic, but they're just sitting there like that. You see that sometimes. People just come and they look pissed off. They look like,
Yeah.
why? This is the last place you seem like you want to be right now, is a place where everyone's supposed to be laughing because you look fucking miserable, you know?
Yeah.
And I never get
There's
it.
a lot of that. Yeah, you do see a lot of that. It's unfortunate because they paid money. Like
Some people laugh on the inside, I guess. I don't know.
I guess so they need to tell their face to move.
Well, yeah,
you know?
you'd think that they would recognize like how much of a negative impact that might have on the comic that they're here to see, to just like have this grimace in the audience that's, you know,
Yeah.
not like lively.
The other thing I think about is you never know what somebody is going through.
Yeah.
So like you never want. That's why I've talked to a lot of comics about, like, if you see somebody like that. I mean, we know as a comic, you know exactly where that person is, because right away you know if a room full of people's laughing, you know the one person that isn't,
The
or
dead
two
spot.
people that aren't. But then, what are they going through? You know, did they lose someone? Did they
Yeah.
have a accident? Like
Maybe they're
something
hoping you're
happened?
going to break them out of some funk.
Yeah. So I never go, you know, I try never to be like, hey, you look miserable. I might say you look upset if I see them give a giggle that they don't, you know what I mean? But you have this
Whatever
kind
it
of
is, it's
upset look.
clearly not like life or
Yeah.
death.
Yeah.
That's upsetting them.
But never like, hey, what's wrong with you? You know, and then
Yeah.
you find out their fucking pet died before they came out and they're sad.
That's
or
sort of what I
something,
was
yeah.
thinking, but at the same time, I don't know in my right mind that if my pet just died and I was feeling devastated, that I'd be like, I should go see a comedy show. I guess some people I can see making that connection, but I don't
Yeah.
know. It seems like a weird move if you're.
Or if they had the tickets, it's already booked.
Oh yeah, true. If
Pet
it's a
dies the night
logistical thing.
before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I have
Or they
heard
don't want to
about the
disappoint
tickets.
their friend. They said they would come
Yeah.
out. Yeah, fair.
Yeah, you know, so,
Every
hey, you never
situation's
know.
unique.
You never know. You just never know what people are going through, and sometimes you gotta let them go through it if they have to. But
Yeah.
it is what it is, right?
Well, it seems like you're very intuitive of your audiences. You have to be doing what you do, right?
Yeah, I try to. I mean, you know, I try to pay attention to like what's going on prior to me as well. What happens with the host, the opening act, that kind of stuff. What are they laughing at? What are they not laughing at? What are they seeing? What kind of audience do they see? What's their energy? Yeah, and then while I'm up there, like really facial expression, how people, you know, are, how they watch. Some people, you know, they're like, please God don't. Yeah, they just have a look like, please God don't talk to me. And then other people are like, you know, and other.
Well, sometimes you get people who are like too much on the other side, where they're like, hey, do me, like that kind of vibe, and they're like interrupting the show. And
Yeah.
I've seen that at shows a lot. That
Yeah, and for those people, you know, they want something. They want their 15 seconds or
Yeah.
whatever it is. I have no problem with that. I'll give that to them. It's just if they become an ongoing issue, like if
they're like, I'm your sidekick now.
yeah, if it's one of those where they won't shut up, then it's like, okay, we need to stop this. But if there's something they need, I'll give them that, and then
That's
move on,
polite.
you know?
That's kind.
yeah.
Well, let's talk about touring, because you tour a ton. Is this like every year for you, or is this just kind of a recent thing to be doing this many cities? You're like all over North America in
Yeah.
such a short period of time.
This amount is new. I mean, I've always been a road comic. I've always been on tour as much as I possibly can. But this now with some success online and building a little sort of small fan base of people, it's allowed me to open up and do more markets and go to more places, which has been amazing. And we drive all over, so that's been really cool to like drive all over America and all over Canada too, but way more America lately.
Do you find the road hard?
In what sense?
Well, I've never done that amount of comedy. I've done only like local stuff. Maybe Montreal, if I happen to be there, I'll look up and get on a show or something. But I always think of two things. One would be loneliness. Like when I've hypothetically put myself there in my mind, I go, well, I would miss my family or significant other, whatever, your children, if you have them. And also the temptation to like party all the time is the other thing that would really, you know, because even going to the comedy clubs just a lot in your own town, you find, okay, I feel like, yeah, I should get a beer. It can creep up on you a bit, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely,
Yeah, if it's too personal, obviously we don't have to go there. If you've had like serious struggles you don't want to talk about or something. I was curious if you've had that, you know, monkey on your back being a touring person who's put in situations where there would be temptations like that on a regular basis.
I love travel. I love the road, that side of it. I really love hotels. Like I've always, I don't know, since I was a kid, hotels, I've always loved staying in them.
It's like
I don't
a
know
fort
why.
or something.
Yeah, I used to do this thing. I'll just tell you this quick, and then we'll get back to the serious side of it. But I used to do this thing in every hotel. If I had 2 beds, I would run from the door. I would run, jump on one, bounce off of it, and fly into the other one. Every single hotel. I mean, I would do that every time. If I had 2 beds, if I had one, it would just be a single jump. And that ended in a casino, at a casino hotel one time because I hit the first bed, jumped up off of it, landed on the second. The bottom, the wooden box thing.
Oh, the box spring?
No, not the box spring.
Oh,
like the wood on the side, like wooden panels.
Yeah, the frame.
That were covering. They just like flew out and the whole bed went right to the floor.
Shit.
And so I had to... I had to go to the front desk and I told them, I said, listen, I don't know what happened up there, but when I walked in the room, the bed on the other side is completely in shambles. So I just wanted you guys to know that that's what happened. And
I'm pretty disappointed in you.
I'm pretty disappointed. Yeah. I'm pretty upset about it. It looked like a nice room. I don't know what went on.
You want to throw a free breakfast in, you know?
Yeah, you know, if you want to comp the dinner tonight and a few drinks or whatever, I'd love that. But you know, that's up to you. And because the only way I got away with it is I had literally just checked in, so they knew. You
immediately,
because I did it. Slapped. It was the first thing I did in every room. I put my bags down, run, jump, and I was an adult, so they were like, odds are this grown man did not just go into our room, jump on one bed, land on the other, smash it, and then come down here and lie to us. I don't think this human adult did that, and they were wrong because I did, and I got away with it.
And you've retired the move now.
That was the last time I ever did.
Well, maybe one day.
It wasn't the last time I ever did it, but that became like maybe this is not a good idea.
Yeah, if you might end up having to pay hundreds to thousands of dollars for repairs or something.
Yeah.
I originally thought you were going to say that you kept bouncing off the second bed into like the wall or the window or something.
That did happen a couple of times. If you got the right bounce, if you got enough, if the room was big enough and you could get some good speed on that initial jump and get a good bounce, like if that first one was bouncy, you knew the second was going to be equally bouncy. So if you landed across the middle, you were going right off, which did happen a couple times.
I was going to say, you didn't stop after that happened.
No, because it was never an injury and no damage it wasn't until I broke the whole thing that I was like, I can't, this is too dangerous.
It's a game changer.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the partying thing. So I've never been a partier. I will have a couple beers, but I am not let's get hammered and go out. I was never really big on bars, nightclubs, not a dancer,
What about weed?
I smoke weed, but
I've been trying to figure out if you were a stoner because you have the same squinty eyes as me. I call them the James Franco eyes.
Yeah, I have very small
I think it's that I have a large, eyebrow region that kind of hangs down, a hooded eye. I think my mom was telling me it's called
a hooded eye. Is that what this is?
Is that what you've never heard that? I thought it was mom that told me that, a hooded. Anyways,
yeah. So I have very 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 small, windows or whatever these are called. It's a very small, very
vision
squinty
windows.
at the best of times. But I've never, I didn't actually drink anything at all or smoke weed at all until I was like 21. I was like kind of against it, not in a religious way, but it was, I don't know why. It just was I guess a thing, probably from a early, like just people in your family that you see struggle with alcohol. I think I just went the complete opposite way. But then, then I sort of had like a weed epiphany or something. And that kind of opened up my eyes, not a lot, as you can tell, but
not literally.
Yeah. So the partying side of it has never been, I'm not a Coke and drugs and, that kind of stuff. Never pills or, any of that. That's just never been my thing. And food is my, I wasn't do the show, go out, get drunk, go home, get up, do it again. Mine was go do the show, good or bad, you get a pizza and you either enjoy it as the king of the world because you had a great night, or you eat it and cry because you're like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? And so that was the thing that I was like, at some point it became a real huge problem. And I was like, this has to stop, because I was eating, you get home late or back to the hotel late after a show.
You don't want to make a big meal.
But you're also in a hotel. So you're not cooking. You have no way to cook. Like you only order, or you only go to a drive-thru or whatever. But I was late getting back and then ordering a large pizza and then finishing the majority of it, if not all of it, in one sitting, and then going to bed immediately after, which is like the worst possible thing you can do for your health.
Is it really? What, eating and going to sleep, or specifically like fatty, greasy stuff?
All of the above.
Because I've heard the opposite, that's a myth about eating before sleep, that if it helps you get a good sleep, it's actually can be better for your overall health, because sleep is so important.
If it's good, I'm sure that's if it's, if you're eating peaches and
but definitely eating a whole pizza and passing out, that's going to have some ramifications.
Meat lovers and extra cheese and garlic bread sometimes, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like saturated every fat, day, like not that it was pizza every day, but it was the equivalent, McDonald's or Burger King or whatever was open.
Yeah.
Eventually it was like whatever was open. And so that was more what I struggled with ever than the partying and stuff like that. I have seen that cause issues for people. I've been around it. I've had to, at some times, sort of distance myself from people who do that a little too much. But my thing has always been, how can I improve this? So when I would go do a show and I was writing, I would go back, look at my set, what hit, what didn't. I would almost like grade it in a way, like not physically write it out, but it would be like, hey, this is your top joke. This gets, this is consistent. This one's got to go. This one, where do we move it? How do we move it in the rotation? Yeah. I was a big sports fan when I was a kid. So like I would put lineups together for hockey games and baseball games and stuff like that, like video games. So I would kind of do that with my set, where it'd be like, if we start with this and then this guy comes in and then this guy, So I was really obsessed with getting better at it because I was so bad. I was so terrible and such a shitty comedian for so long that I was like, I couldn't explain it to people. I was like, listen, I can't tell you why or how, but I know that I'm better than what you've just seen. And it's impossible to tell you that because what you just saw was a shitty, terrible comedy show and there's no way to explain it to you. But I swear something's in me. And I think the more I explore that, I think that'll come out somehow. I don't know how or when or if that will ever actually happen, but I feel like it's in there. So it was, back to the hotel and writing. And then now, we go to a show. Kyle, who is traveling with me, that is standing awkwardly in your corner right now, and I apologize for that. That's what he does.
He seems like a cool dude.
Oh, He's not. I'm just fucking with you. But yeah, so you know, we have a full camera setup, full production. We've got a bunch of cameras. So at the end of it, we have to get all that stuff. He's got to start backing up all the footage. Then the next day, we're editing together like a vlog video, which is what we're shooting here. Otherwise, he would not be standing awkwardly in your. Well, that's maybe not true. He might still be here standing awkwardly, but he is shooting something, and then we'll use that. So. And that is because, you know, this is the day and age of content. You need to be putting out fresh stuff, and that's how you build your fan base. So again, it's that obsession for me of like, how do we move this forward? How do we continue to build? How do we take what we already have? How can we improve our equipment? How can we improve our overall production? And that stuff is way more in my mind than, let's go that was a great show. Let's go get hammered right stuff. Now, you know?
Yeah.
And not to say, you know, every once in a while after a really big, long stretch or something, you might have a couple beers with friends or whatever, but that's just never, it never, people ask all the time, you know, you'll be in the middle of nowhere and they'll go, all right, where are you guys going? Where are we going? And it's like,
let me get you a shot.
Yeah, we're going to the hotel. Yeah. We had a situation in Grand Junction, Colorado. This fucking guy, lovely man, but he kept bringing shots to the stage. And it was a situation where you can't, if you deny it, they start booing. So I took a bunch of shots. By the end of the show, I'm hammered. Like I am hammered. And I don't do that, you know, like
you're trying to be polite.
Yeah. Well, not only that, I'm trying not to lose an entire 400 people in this audience that are like, he brought you a shot.
That's ridiculous.
You know what I mean?
I mean, you're only human. You can't keep taking them.
I know. Well, that's eventually. So what happened was
that people will be like, we're not going to laugh at him. He's a pussy. You know?
Exactly.
That's
by the time I did the third one, he brought a fourth, and I go, dude, I'm going to die. That's when they flipped and turned on him and were like, all right, he's had enough. You know.
So once they realized it wasn't fun for you anymore.
Yeah. When I'm like, seriously, guys, I'm going to die. I don't do that. First of all, I don't eat close to a show. So I'm empty stomach, tequila, my least favorite thing ever. Now it's in, you know, now I'm feeling it. Gross. It was really gross. But I mean, after the show, I don't even know what I'm saying to these guys. I'm skipping around like a fucking idiot. I'm hugging everybody that'll hug me. These guys, I hugged them like 4 times. We had a group hug. I mean, I'm just like, you know, out there, and I hate it. The next day I felt terrible because I drank water the rest of, like, it's not like I'm like, oh yeah, we're hammered now, let's keep this going. I'm like, I need food, I need water, I need Advil, I need sleep. And even the next day for the first little bit, I'm like, I could never do this. I could never be the party guy because there's so much to do. And I'm doing all the promo, all the marketing, all that kind of stuff. Kyle works with me. We have another guy that does all the stand-up edits and stuff like that. He's constantly sending stuff. There's way too much to be done for me to be waking up late and feeling gross. And like,
even when I wrote this question, I kind of had an inkling that it was going to be this sort of an answer, because just seeing your sets and going, okay, I don't think you could do maybe the crowd work if you're one of those personable drunks, but the reciting everything at the end, I'm like, there's no way a drunk person would get that all in order and tie it all together again at the end and have that ending you were speaking of earlier.
No, if I was like really drunk or really high or like really whatever, that end would be all over the place. And it has happened. I mean, a couple of times, like I was saying, where people bring shots. I don't know how that show ended. I have no idea. I mean, I'm sure I said something, but I don't know if it was in order. It might not even been about that show.
As long as they're laughing.
I don't know if that was happening either. I was yelling so much it was hard to hear any laughter. So I have no idea, you know, but, and so I could never, I mean, if that happened every night and people were bringing, you know, I would eventually have to be like, if somebody buys a shot, I have told a few clubs, because there's been I put this video, this is my fault. I put this video online of this guy buying a shot and I took the shot, but it's all a joke about, he has his pants rolled up, and I joked that he wringed out his pants into the thing, and as an asshole move, he gave me a shot. And I wasn't thinking like, fuck, in this, I'm actually doing a shot. So I've had a couple clubs where they go, there's a couple tables that want to buy you a shot. They say that's your thing.
Oh no.
And I'm like, no, that is not my thing. That is a video they watched.
Yeah, you gotta clear that up
so
real
I go,
quick.
whatever they ask for, just put either a Coca-Cola if it's dark, or a apple juice, or a water, and just tell them and charge them and get their money, but don't bring that to me. So I've had that
That's
a couple
genius.
times. Yeah.
So you're taking a shot, but it's just
That's
something.
not my, like, that is actually, I don't even know who created that, but it's a road comic that started, I can't remember who it is, but they would start the set by going, hey, can I get a shot? And it would allow the club to double and triple their alcohol sales. But every shot that was brought to him, they knew no alcohol. And then at the end of the show, he would go do all the alcohol. He would go actually drink all the shots that they bought.
That's
but
really
during the
clever,
show.
though.
Yeah.
Damn.
Really genius move. I can't remember who it is. It's nobody famous either. Like, it's somebody, it's just like a
and
road
not only
comic.
selling
Really
drinks,
cool.
but for a lot of people, him taking the shot at the beginning, him or her, but him in this case, would be just that allure maybe of like, oh, he's a real comic party dude. Because I think a
That's
lot of
right.
people have that idea of a comic in their head.
Yeah.
And it's true in a lot of cases. They do have that persona sometimes, but
Yeah.
this guy's a genius faking it just to help the bar. Wow.
Yeah. Brilliant move.
Too bad we don't know his name.
I can't remember his
I
name.
can always
See?
add it in later if you think of it.
Yeah.
Just put it on screen.
If I think of it, I'll send it. I cannot remember who it is.
And that kind of covers my lonely question too, because I didn't know Kyle was with you. So
Yeah.
you go everywhere on tour, yeah?
Yeah.
There you go. So
he goes, and then also there's another guy that usually travels with us when we're in the U.S. Named Levi Mape, who is kind of my opening act, sort of permanent opening act when we're in the U.S. He'll be doing some Canadian shows with us at some point, but and he also does our driving when we're down there. And he does all our merch setup, and he runs that whole side of things as well. So you got a crew. The loneliness thing, that was never a thing for me either. I was an only child, and I was very used to being by myself as a kid. My mom worked a lot. I would come home after school. It would just be me hanging out, watching stand up. I was never like, I'm totally
You're
cool.
built for this.
Yeah. I was totally cool with being by myself. I've never had a situation where I was alone in a hotel somewhere and been like, oh God, I miss my family. You know what I mean? I'm not married. I don't have children. My mom's awesome, and I miss my mom if I'm gone for a while, but I talk to her every day on text or phone call or whatever. Like,
you clearly love what you're doing with comedy, so every night must be a blast.
It was
unless you get too drunk.
That side of things was never that. In the travel, when I was a kid, my grandparents used to take me on a road trip pretty much every summer. We'd go somewhere. Sometimes it was far, like Florida. Sometimes it was, Chatham. But we drove, and I always loved it. I loved the car rides. I loved when we would stop at a hotel. I loved eating fast food on the road. I loved diners. I loved, Ponderosa Steakhouse. Like, I just loved it, and I still do. I still love all of that stuff.
Well, yeah, it's an amazing way to live your life, seeing all these different places. Like, you must have been a gajillion cities in the States and Canada, right? Like, even just seeing your tour thing that I saw was already a ton of cities.
And then the
all over the
travel
place,
driving through, you'll drive through some town.
These little places.
Especially like we've been to mountain towns, like where it's literally you're on a mountain, you're in a mountain. There's a whole town.
That's so cool.
That you are driving through. You 5 minutes later, you're on the other side of the town. Like, yeah, it's really, really cool. And I love driving. I love especially not having to actually physically be the driver. That's really helped. 'Cause I'm also doing a lot of like social media stuff, promo marketing, editing, that kind of thing really late. So sometimes if we have an early morning drive, having Levi when he's with us doing the driving has been just a huge help. And he's such a talented, skilled guy. He's got so many like skills and stuff that are totally beyond me, that he's really helped in that way too. So I have an amazing team of people. So the loneliness,
having your homies with you and creating content, that sounds like a blast.
So you're not doing much with all the comedy groupies then, eh?
No, that's not. I also have a girlfriend, so I wouldn't, even if comedy groupies were a thing, which they most certainly are not. And,
well, that must be difficult then if you've got a girlfriend and you got to go on tour for quite some time.
So here's the thing is we don't even live in the same city when I am home. So it's already a long distance relationship. She has her own business, so she's focused on that. She also has 2 kids, so she's got that. They're not like children. They're
but still
older, but she's got stuff to focus on. So when I'm on the road, I'm 100% focused on that. Obviously we talk all the time and stuff like that, but, when I'm out there, I'm able to focus and concentrate on that. She's got her own stuff going on. If it was something where she had nothing or was like sitting at home waiting for me to come back, I wouldn't be able to deal with that because nor would she. But while she's got her stuff to work on, and then I'm gone, and then when we get our time together is such quality time. Like I
can imagine. Yeah.
There's no
so precious.
Yeah, we don't have time for stupid horseshit arguments. We don't have time to, your socks are on the floor. Like, who gives a fuck? I'll throw my socks. You know what I mean? Like those little stupid arguments that that's in other relationships. Like, I hate that. Those drive me nuts. Yeah. They drive me so nuts.
When people just see a little too much of each other and maybe aren't really
and then
compatible.
You take it for granted. When you see someone all the time, every day, no matter who they are, you take it a little bit. It doesn't mean you start being an asshole, but like you take it a little bit for granted. And that's every other relationship I've ever had. You're around each other so much that you start to nitpick and their fights come up.
Yeah, it's human nature.
It drove me crazy. And this is the best thing I've ever been a part of because it's such quality. When we see each other, it is like we had time to miss each other. I missed you. I couldn't wait to see you. I'm not dreading, I've lived with people, been on the road, and when I know I'm 2 days away from going home, a dread comes in my soul, and I'm like, fuck, I can't believe I have to go back to this hellhole that I live in with this person I can't stand. Like, I hated that feeling. And now it's like, every single time we get to see each other, it is such a huge thrill and moment. And you know what I mean?
That's amazing.
And obviously that's not sustainable forever, but things will change over time and our situations will change, and her business will get to a place where she doesn't have to be there all the time. Obviously her children will grow up and become adults, and you know what I mean, and so she could travel more with me, she could meet me places, who knows where we end up living at some point. There's lots of growth opportunity within the relationship as well, but right now it's such a beautiful time that we get to spend together, that I'm very lucky.
No,
very
I'm really
lucky.
happy for you, man. That's
Thank
awesome. Because I'm sure there's not a lot of people that would really be able to deal with the touring thing. I think that would be maybe a deal breaker for a lot of people,
Yeah. And that's fine. Like, she knew up front. When we first started dating, I was doing, really kind of shitty bar gigs and, would tour as much as I could, but it wasn't at this level. But I always told her, like, from the beginning, this is where I see this going. This is where I am going. This is what I do. This is my, this is my,
This is the package. Like,
yeah, this will never go away. This will only get more and more of this if things go well. If not, then you probably don't want to be around me because I'm going to be absolutely miserable and just, not a person you want to be hanging around. So
she knew what she was getting into.
yeah, totally. I mean, it wasn't like, I've had friends that they're married or dating and they have a regular job and then they start doing this and they start doing it more and more and more. And it's like, hey, what the fuck? Where are you? Why are you? You know what I mean? And that's really tough. That's a tough.
Yeah, because that's understandable for the other people in that situation.
Yeah. But for this, it was, we knew up front, we knew we didn't live together. When we started dating, her kids were, I think they're both teenagers, or one's a teenager now, but they were both really young. We knew that it wasn't going to be, we didn't want to involve the children. It wasn't going to, I grew up with a single mom. There was guys, not a lot of them, but a few guys over the years that are kind of in your life, then they're out of your life. I never wanted to do that to a kid, especially a young kid. The situation with the dad, whatever, I didn't want to get involved in that, nor did she want me to be either, which was perfect because it was like, I can't, I'm not going to see these kids and they're like, hey, I like that guy. And then I'm gone for 2 months and they're like, hey, what's the deal with this fucking idiot? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That inconsistency.
Yeah. And it was just like, it's just great, man. It's been awesome. And is really like the missing, people don't get to miss, you don't miss somebody when they're gone for the day.
That, classic saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah. And I
subscribe to that too.
I would, yeah. They have a YouTube channel. Subscribe to Absence Makes the Heart Grow Fonder on YouTube.
I wouldn't be surprised if it does exist.
There has to
you look
be,
up anything.
It's definitely a Twitter.
Exists. Yeah. The dry bar comedy, just to shift here, I wanted to ask you if it was hard to keep it clean when you're doing things off the cuff. And obviously I've seen some of your other stuff where it's very much not that,
Yeah.
Not that you're like a blue comic or whatever, but you definitely drop F-bombs and whatever comes out, So was that like a restraint that you had to be super aware of, or was it something that really wasn't that hard to turn off?
I do a lot of corporate stuff and I've done a lot of clean shows over the years. So it's just one filter. It's basically like, normally I see something, I react to it. I don't really run it through a filter and I say what I say. If I say fuck, I say fuck.
However it comes out.
In this case, you think something, you go, okay, are there any fucks in this? Get that out, and then you say it. Or, they're really strict. Like, you can't even say, oh my God. And
really?
Yeah.
Oh, because of the religious connotations? This is in like Provo, Utah?
Provo,
right?
Utah. They send you a package beforehand, including a video that you watch of everybody that said the wrong thing during a taping and what will happen.
Jeez.
And they tell you flat out, like, if you, and I didn't realize this. A guy I was touring with back then, he goes, you say, oh my God, a lot, right? And I go, I do? He's like, yeah. Like if somebody tells you something and you'll go, oh my God. And I go, oh, fuck. And he goes, you can't do that either. Like you can't do any of these. And the thing I was nervous the most about was not fuck it was, oh my God. And
there's many of those because I often go, Jesus Christ, if I'm like frustrated with something and that comes out and I don't even think of it.
And they would stop your taping. They keep you
crucified.
Yeah, stop, which is like, you can't stop stand-up comedy. Like that's the one, you can't stop the show and then restart it. It's like you need that momentum, that flow. So I was so nervous about the, oh my God, beforehand, but yeah.
That's a great answer because I was not expecting that you would have something besides swearing that you were like frantically trying to avoid.
The swearing thing has never been an issue because of the corporates. Doing the, I did a corporate for Value Mart one time at one of their stores, and it was people that were 85 down to 15. And it was like, excuse me, it was, like how do you make that wide range? And it had to be all clean. And so doing stuff like that over and over and over again, you just get to a point where you're like,
you become adaptable.
Yeah, I know I have to put one filter on and then run it through.
Oh my God, that's hard too. Yeah.
Oh my God was my. And
That's
the
your
night
kryptonite.
before, I did one show the night before in Las Vegas, and I got off from my buddy said, "You said it 3 times." I go, I thought I did 0. I thought I got off and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't do it." And he goes, "Yeah, you said it 3 times."
Damn.
I know.
No wonder you were worried.
I was very nervous.
Yeah, I'd be shitting my pants. Well, I guess. Oh, I actually wanted to talk about your new special because, first of all, the name's very funny. I'm sorry, I'm not Kevin Hart, and that whole thing where you call the guy's girlfriend is
Oh
hilarious.
yeah, that's so. That actually is almost a year old. That came out last July.
But you don't have a newer special, right?
No. But it is the first thing. Like if you go to my YouTube, I think it's still the first video up there. It's like the
It was one of the
introduction video or
first for sure,
something.
yeah.
And I'm sorry. What was your? I'm so sorry. I cut you off there. But
That's
what was your
okay.
question?
Well, I was just going to ask if the length was intentional or not, because it is a shorter special.
Yes.
Which I know there were other comics doing 15, 20-minute specials and switching it up in that way. And I was just wondering if that was intentional or if it was just a set that went so well that you were like, I got to share this because this was just such an amazing interaction.
It was that one. It was.
So it wasn't even intended to be a set.
No,
I mean a special.
I film every show. That was filmed in February of 2021, I think, because Kyle was not with me at the time. I was traveling with another guy or by myself. I would set up all the cameras and all the audio. I would load the footage after the show onto a hard drive. I'd bring all the shows back and give it to the guy who does the editing, and he would put it together for me. So I was doing all of that. So this was just at a club in Tucson, Arizona. Just a random, I think it was the Friday early show or might have been the Friday late show, Saturday, whatever it is. Saturday late show. And so I had done other shows there. They're all filmed. They're all, whatever. This moment happened with the guy's wife who goes to see Kevin Hart. The ending is me on the phone recording the message. It ends with like a standing ovation because I basically did the wrap up within that, like the going through everything is kind of within that thing. And so, which is not the end of the real show. That wasn't the end.
Oh, it keeps going.
Yeah. The real end is much later, and there's much more. There's stuff we just cut out of the show that like didn't work or whatever. So we kept everything into that point, and that became the end. And that's how we got to the time. It wasn't like a purpose, like on purpose, we want to hit 20 or 25. It was like, let's see where we get. Well, let's cut it down. That's where we got to. And it was like, well, this is a natural.
Yeah, it's got a
ending.
hilarious name for it too.
Yeah. The name was everything. The name was like, what if I call this something Kevin Hart, and then obviously it became Sorry I'm Not Kevin Hart, and then the name became a tour for a little while. So last year we toured for months on the Sorry I'm Not Kevin Hart comedy tour.
There you go.
Yeah. So it was all
Squeezing
based
everything
on
out of
that
it.
name and that one moment. And then we got clips out of it and stuff like that. And then it, it's very low budget. I mean, it's just literally me. I set up 3 cameras and a GoPro and had the audio plugged into the board. And then I brought another one on stage with me. That's it. That's the entire setup.
Still looks
for the whole
good.
thing.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And that was the thing is it looked and sounded like that. So good enough for a YouTube special.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
And Kevin didn't come after you for a percentage?
He did not because, it's hard to divvy up a percentage of 0.
There
You know what I mean?
There's nothing to come
Yeah.
after.
How much of this would you like? I made 0 from it. But that was one of the reasons, that we stopped doing the tour name was, cause it was a great name and it got a lot of, good response, but I was like, man, I want to keep building. And eventually I feel like we could be in some sort of
Yeah,
legal.
if it gets too.
Yeah. And we actually, somebody sent me a message on Facebook Messenger saying like, "Hey, be careful." And he sent me this list, and Kevin Hart has his name trademark, just his name. So like the use of
like
just
Prince
his
or
name.
something?
Yeah. Now we didn't have his face on it. It was just his name. Like it wasn't, like me and Kevin Hart and I'm going like, sorry, I'm not him.
Yeah,
So
that
we
would
didn't
have
put
been
his
a bit much.
face or anything. We just had his name, but I was like, we better not continue.
It's murky
with this.
waters.
Yeah.
That could go sour pretty quick.
So
with
we're
the wrong
coming,
person.
we're trying to come up with a new tour name right now. Actually, if you have any ideas, please drop those in the comments.
And everyone should go check that out, the special we were talking about.
Please. Sorry, I'm not Kevin Hart, which I am, by the way. And sorry, not that I am. I didn't just announce that I am Kevin Hart. I'm sorry that I'm not. Jeff Leeson Show, YouTube channel.
Yeah, all your socials will come up at the beginning too, all that stuff, like
amazing.
on-screen
Can we
icons.
throw them up right now again? There you go.
Yeah.
There they are again.
We can add
Who
it in.
does that?
My
That-
son actually does.
Your son?
Yeah, I do all the basic editing, but he adds all the graphic stuff. Yeah.
What's your son's name?
Maverick.
Maverick?
Yeah. It's cool,
You
right?
named your son Maverick?
I've never even seen Top Gun, so let's not even go there.
What?
No, I know. Oh, that's probably the bigger upset.
What?
Actually. Yeah, no, because everyone always says, "Oh, what?" Like Top Gun, and I go, "I know the character, I'm aware of it, but I've never seen Top Gun."
Where did Maverick come from?
An X-Men character, actually. That's how nerdy I am. He was in the Weapon X program with Wolverine and Sabretooth. His name's David North, I think.
But way more often people go to the Top Gun, right?
all the time. No one ever gets the X-Men one.
Never?
No, and I didn't do it like that. I thought it was a cool name anyways. So for me, it was just cool to know, like, oh yeah, there's
M-A-V-E-R,
E-R-I-C-K.
not right to the R.
No.
Okay.
And some people do it
Maverick.
with just a K at the end. And I
Do
find
they?
that a little weird. Yeah, I've seen that
God.
at least once.
Yeah, get them out of here.
Yeah.
Maverick, that's what a fucking
name, right?
badass name.
Yeah.
Maverick. Yeah.
Middle name is Brian, like my dad. So
Maverick. Brian? No
Yeah.
offense, Brian. I mean, Brian's a lovely name.
can't
but
hold a candle to Maverick.
God, I'm glad it comes second.
It should be like Maverick Turbo or something.
Yeah.
I wanted to keep
Maverick Brian. That's hilarious. I'm sorry because his name is Brian.
Settle down.
You're right. You're right. Sorry, Brian. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not like Mortimer or something. There's dorkier
Maverick
names.
Mortimer Brian.
I wouldn't have done that.
What's your last name?
Well, I don't know if we should give my son's full name out on the.
Oh no,
the
you're
internet.
right. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. It's just call him. Just look for Maverick.
I already gave his middle name. Yeah, we could always blur it out.
No, we don't know his middle name. Who cares?
He'll be 18 in a few years. and
He's
then
fine.
an adult.
He's doing graphics. He'll
Yeah.
just throw up a different name.
Yeah, he can put whatever name he wants.
What a wicked name, though.
Yeah, well, I thought it was a cool name. Yeah, at the time, I remember thinking.
Do you have
like,
a dog?
I do. I
What's
have
your
two
dog's
dogs.
name? If your dog's name is Steve, this is going to be hilarious.
No, I have a dog named Ziggy.
Yes. Really?
Yeah.
I know a comic named Ziggy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's your other dog?
My other dog is Moxie,
Moxie. Moxie
She's
and
full
Ziggy.
of it, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
and I had another dog the past couple of years ago named Midas.
Midas?
Midas, yeah.
Yeah.
He was a cool pup.
Golden Retriever.
No, he was a long-haired Dachshund, so like a wiener dog with long hair.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he was pretty cool. He
Nice.
was really soft, chill dog. Once we got him neutered.
Good for the hardwood floors, too. Sweep those off a little bit when he walks around.
Oh, the worst was actually in the winter. You'd go out in the snow, and when he'd come back, he'd have just like all these snowballs frozen to his fur, and then he'd have to just like sit and like melt. And then the floor, yeah, that's not good for the hardwood floor.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, well, all I got left is fun, random questions that aren't like comedy based or any of that. What time is it? Oh, are we good? What time you got to be home? Well, okay, yeah, you're a night owl like me, anyways. Okay. What is an
Do
insult?
you have to be home? Did you just ask your
Not at
father what
the
time
home.
he has to be home?
Well, I'm just trying to be respectful. If he's got an early morning or something.
Where do you live? Where does he have to go? Does he have a curfew?
He knows I'm an old man. That's all.
Yeah,
He doesn't want me
I'm just-
falling over.
Well, there's been times where we've done really late podcasts, and then after he's kind of like, it's 2 a.m. or something.
Holy
Anyway.
shit! How long do these go? How long have we been
No,
here?
that one started at like 11, I think. What time did we actually start rolling?
About 1 hour 50 minutes ago.
Yeah, I figured we were.
Holy
getting into it.
shit.
Well, I
Oh
still
my
want to run
God.
through a couple of these at least. These
I
are
gotta,
fast and
I
fun.
gotta get home.
Yeah, when are you gonna
I
get?
gotta
We got
get-
shows. Yeah,
I got a curfew.
we got arcade to play maybe, and probably not
Oh
got
my
time.
God, we're gonna be here all night, Brian. Fuck.
Well,
I get the coffee.
what's an insult you've received that you're proud of?
Oh,
I thought that was a fun one.
an insult I've received that that somebody said to
Yes,
me.
and they meant it disparagingly, but you took it as like a badge of honor or something, you know? I wasn't sure if you'd have one for this, but...
Damn.
Remember that one guy said, "You wish," recently?
You wish?
Yeah, do you remember what that was about?
No, I don't. You wish.
It was like about performing somewhere specific.
Oh, man. Oh, you know what? This is going to... Now, I'll tell you exactly what you've done. Around 2 a.m., I'm going to wake up in a cold sweat and be like, fuck, that's...
Well, you know what, man? If you think of something like that and you just film it on your phone, send me the video clip, I can just put it in the episode. We'll just cut to that. If you come up with a banger.
Oh, man. The one that comes to mind, I'm not... This wasn't like a proud... This wasn't a proud one. It's just the funniest one, I think.
That didn't really offend you or hurt you that much?
No, not at all. It was that I look like the least successful Baldwin brother.
I thought there was a few of them that are pretty unsuccessful.
That's to me the best part is
You're the
they did
worst.
not say the name and they're not implying one.
Yeah.
They're saying of all the Baldwins, some are successful, some are not.
Some are
You look
moderately.
like the least
Yeah.
of those on that side. So
You're like the one no one's even seen that doesn't even act.
that's right.
They locked him in the shed.
Yeah. I'm the Baldwin.
Angus Baldwin.
Angus Baldwin. He owns a bakery.
Oh, okay, well, that was fun.
Good question, but I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
liked it. Can you tell me about a time you got really lost? And I suppose
Like
I
in
could,
life, or you
well,
mean like
that's how I
directions?
read it too. I was like, I don't know if I want to how I want to pose. I'd say take it however you want to take it, geographically or emotionally. It's pretty broad, I suppose.
Well, we just got lost coming here. That's the most recent time I've got
true.
lost.
That's true. Everyone
I ended
does
up
trying
in
to find-
somebody's parking space for a little while, and then you led me on a trek that I would never have been able to
A
do on my
winding
own.
path, yeah.
Yeah, just heads up to all future guests here. It's fucking impossible to find this place.
The front door is very misleading.
All of it is misleading. We went through a courtyard at one point. I think we were in a backyard of somebody. We had tea with that couple for a little bit. I mean, that was quite a trek.
Wow. True journey.
Getting lost. I've been lost so many times. Back in the day when, I would MapQuest.
Oh, yeah. Printing it out.
MapQuest, or what was the other one? There was another one. But anyway, you'd have to print
Yeah.
a page. So there'd be times I'd be gone for a week or two, and I'm not kidding, like a binder full of page after page after page. And so the worst times I ever got lost were it would just say, turn on the road. But there's no... First of all, you're on a road, and second of all, there is no other road to turn on. But it's so many things that you couldn't go through it to know that. You don't know it until you're there.
Already screwed.
So, yeah, there was a lot of the.
Isn't it funny how
there
like
was a lot of those.
MapQuest at the time we thought we were so modern and cool compared to old fold-out maps, and now
Yeah.
all that paper shit seems archaic and ridiculous.
Oh my god, absolutely, yeah.
But
You
it
know
was
they still-
cutting edge
You know
MapQuest
they
at
still
the time.
sell maps, real maps.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's got to be some benefit to topography or something if you're curious about
You can
that.
still get them at the auto club.
But do you think a lot of people actually use them still?
Every once in a while, like when I'm going to go somewhere, I'll still go and say, give me a map of Utah, because I'm going there. And I like to lay it out in the dining room table and have a good look at stuff. And, even though I've got a huge monitor on my computer, still sometimes, laying it out and staring at it and getting a pen and making marks. And
But not like in the car you would never use
no,
it.
not in the car. No, I got this thing called GPS.
Yeah.
I remember those original GPSs were terrible. Like,
Oh, the Garmin.
that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Whenever you got into the place that you were trying to find, like, oh, we're finally in Montreal, and now we're downtown, and the skyscrapers would fuck the signal.
Yeah.
And the time you need it the most, it just blanks out. No signal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember the first one I had very first one I had, I remember took me to a different town the first time. Like, I forget exactly what state, but it was like whatever thing I put in, it was like one letter off. But you know how you had to, like, it wasn't like you
Yeah.
could type 3 letters and then it would bring up all your selections.
Yeah.
Like you had to physically, and it was like, cherry Cherry Hill and Cherry Mill.
Yeah.
And I went to Cherry Mill and not Cherry Hill, like something like,
Was it
something like that.
drastically far away from where you were supposed to be going?
No, it was probably a half hour. Yeah. Oh,
Cherry Mill and Cherry Hill.
I'll tell you exactly the worst time. Oh man. I had an audition in Toronto. I lived in London, Ontario. I had an audition in Toronto, and I thought I knew. I was like, I just need to know, once I get to Toronto, all I need to know is the directions from the 401 at this thing to the venue. That's all I need. Everything else, no problem. So I'm like, I can get myself to Toronto. So I get this shorter version of the MapQuest. I get in the car and I drive. I'm on the road like an hour and a half, and I start seeing signs for the border of the United States to cross in Windsor into Detroit. And I'm like, that's weird. I thought,
I'll say.
I thought this was the other way. I didn't realize these. I thought they were opposite. And like, you have nothing, no phone, no, whatever. And then I got even closer, and I'm like, fuck. There isn't even a sign for Trump. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. And so I had to get off, go up and around, get back on the 401, and then call the audition people and be like, I'm going to be very late, and I don't know if I should still come. And yeah. So
Did you get to go to the audition still?
yeah, I was lucky in that the audition was at like 1. And so
My dad's loving this. They're fucking killing me.
I haven't thought about this in so long. That's so funny you brought that up. But so the audition was supposed to be at like 1, and this is at like 10, 9. Like, I left really early, so they bumped me to like 3 o'clock so that I was able to get there 4 o'clock, like whatever. They're like, yeah, just come.
What a long day.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I did not get the part. I do remember that also. Certainly was not worth it.
It was just a life lesson in the end.
Yeah, it was. I definitely know which way Windsor is from London. Like, if you need
seen
somebody.
the American flag, you've gone too far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Also, if you don't see any Toronto signs for an hour and a half driving from London,
Also
odds
good
are you're going
indicators.
in the wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never occurred to me though. Never once. After all the green signs, when I was like, hey, you know what? Toronto's big enough. They know that I'm going the right way. They don't need to advertise. You know what I mean? They don't have to stand out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a great answer. What is the worst injury you've ever sustained?
All right. Well, this is, I'm not proud of this. I just want you to know that up front. But the worst injury I've ever had.
Does this involve your junk?
No.
It seemed like that's where it was going.
No, I've had a few of those I used to be a goalie.
Oh.
So I had a couple of, you go down the wrong way and a puck hits you the wrong way. I've had a few of those, but they're more of like, you just breathe for a few minutes or whatever. And then
You got a jock strap. It's got to help.
yeah, well, but every once in a while it'll like,
Oh, you got a
if
ball
you go to,
hanging out.
yeah. Or it'll hit you on the side. So like there's a side, the cup really goes down and around, like cups the front and sort of bottom. If you get hit on the side, like if you're going, say doing a move, going to the left and it comes in from the side, it'll tap your side of your nutsack or the tap or, the side of where those are like, and they just like, it's just rings through your spine for a few minutes and then kind of goes away. Yeah. Not great. Not fun. But the worst injury as far as like something had to happen was can you see, is there like a
little red mark there. Yeah.
So that I had to have stitches in my elbow from I was not a fighter, but
How
I got
old?
A grade 8.
Oh,
Yeah.
valedictorian.
So 12, 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got in a fight. Dumbest reason to get in a fight ever. Shouldn't have been in a fight. This is how I'll just tell you.
I'm
the story.
very curious.
Yeah,
about
I know. I'll
what
just tell you
caused
the story.
this scuffle.
So, I'm in grade 8. There's a new guy that comes to our school, and he looks like an adult. Like, he's not a kid. He looks like he could be one of the teachers. Yeah. His first day, we all thought he was a new teacher, like a substitute or something. And everybody's like, who the fuck is the new, the new teacher or whatever? But he turned out to be a new student. And, I don't know, everybody's nervous. You're a kid. You don't know what to do. So he wanted people to think he was like really kind of a tough, guy. And he would talk about fighting all the time. And he would talk about on the weekends, he gets almost like fight. What he was really, I guess, describing was like Fight Club, but like the way a kid would describe it and try to tell you that they're in it. You know what I mean?
And this kid was in grade 8 too?
He was in grade 8, but he looks like he's 25
years old.
You're
confusing him for a fully grown man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's telling us that he fights. So it was like a little bit of a way to be like, hey, don't, I know I'm new here, but don't fuck with me.
Wouldn't looking like a fully grown man kind of take care of that already, you think, in grade 8?
Yeah, there was a lot of guys that were like, I don't give a fuck what you look like. I'm just going to rip
looking
you.
to pop off.
Yeah. So, excuse me. So, he comes in, he's letting us all know that he's a fighter or whatever. So for the most part, it's all fine. After a little while and people get used to him, there's some like some things that don't add up about his stories, like he would come in and be like, I watched my best friend get murdered or like beat up or whatever on the weekend, and you're like, it seems to happen every weekend. Like, we live in London, Ontario, like where are these fucking things?
I dodged a couple ninja stars on the weekend.
So as boys do, a couple guys think, you know what, I don't think you're that tough, and I think you're full of shit, and we should fight after school. And so one guy steps up and absolutely whips his ass, like the adult guy. I mean, embarrassingly. Second guy, now he's got a bad reputation. Second guy steps up. He says, I'll fight you. I don't give a shit. And they fight. The guy puts him. You wrestling fan?
I mean, I loosely know.
Bret Hart, sharpshooter.
Okay, I know Bret Hart.
Lock the legs.
Okay.
He did that in a real fight to him, like as an I want to embarrass you type of move, which is like normally a guy would have to go with it, let you lock his legs. He like literally
just dominated. Yeah,
and so his reputation as this kind of tough guy was sort of dying down, right? So there's this other guy that was a troublemaker. We're in a class. We're all three of us in a class. This new guy that fights is going on and on about, even though it was a fluke that he got put in the sharpshooter. Of course. So this other guy, Greg, starts chirping the fighter guy and starts talking about how we could all whip your ass. Like, you're nothing, whatever. And he goes, pick anybody in here and I'll whip their ass. And he goes, I bet even Jeff could whip your ass. He doesn't fight. Now I have said nothing. I'm just sitting there. He goes, I bet even he could whip your ass. And he doesn't, he's not even a fighter. And I'm like, oh, no. There's no need to, we don't need to go that far. No. And I joke around, and me and the guy that is the new guy are friends. So I go, oh no, he'd whatever. And so he's going at Greg and Greg's going, so they're chirping each other back and forth. I'm thinking this is leading to a fight. And to be honest, I wouldn't have minded Greg getting knocked out. I would have been cheering for the other guy in this scenario. So Greg goes, no, Jeff would whip your ass or whatever. And the other guy goes, no, there's no way. And I go, we're joking around. Anyway, he gets serious and he's like, I would fucking whip his ass. Now, when you're a boy and your testosterone's getting up, for the most part, I can let it go and whatever. It just got to a point where it was like too much. Like, it was like, breaking point. We don't know exactly what would happen. So let's not, it wouldn't be I don't think it would be a mauling, you know what I mean? And he's like, no, I'd whip your ass. And eventually it just got to the point where your emotions take over and your ego or whatever it is kicks in. And I'm like, look, man, if I have to kick your ass, I'll kick your ass for this to stop. Like it was too much, which I should not have done. And so then this Greg fucking guy, he pipes up and he's like, all right, after school, these guys are going. He kind of organizes this thing that happens out on the catwalk, which is like technically off of school property. So you could kind of, this is where all the fights took place, and
Yeah.
the school would have nothing to do with it. So he organizes this thing. I go to the guy I'm supposed to fight, and I go, we're not actually doing this, right? Like, this was just, us
Bunch of
chirping
talk.
each other or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, we have to. And I'm like, we don't have to do this. And he goes, dude, he's telling everybody, like, we're gonna look terrible if we don't do this. I'm like, guy, we do not. Anyway, it gets to the point where now there's too many people. It's too high stakes. Your whole school career is riding on it. It's grade 8. You're about to graduate. I don't want to go into high school being the pussy who wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's how you think as a.
Well, especially
kid.
back then, that was a lot more normal, I think.
It was, and it's like fueled by these, boys that are all testosterone up and like, yeah, we want to see a fight. So we go down to this catwalk, and there's a fucking crowd around, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe. And in my mind, I'm like, I have never been in a fight before other than a hockey scuffle. I've never been in a real fight. I don't think I can fight. And if this guy does fight on the weekends, I'm about to die. This guy's going to kill me right now. And I don't know what to do. I've never thrown a punch. I've never pushed. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And so we're in this crowd, and I get up so only me and him can hear each other, and I go, we don't have, like, we can just walk away right now. And he goes, dude, we can't, it's on. And he steps back, he looks down, he comes forward, and he punches me right in the face. I had never been punched in the face before. And it was just like, it was like one of those, triggers that go off in you. That's like, either you do something or this is going to continue
Fight
and
or
get worse.
flight kind of thing.
So I get hit, something snaps in my head. I grab him. He's wearing a Batman t-shirt. I whip him into the fence, and I'm holding the front of his t-shirt. I ripped it right off of the front of his body. So he goes flying into the fence, gets up, and is in half of a Batman shirt. So he has the back of a Batman shirt on, and this part is his exposed chest while I'm standing there with a piece of, his shirt.
Yeah.
And so he comes back over to me, and I must have grabbed like the shoulder side or whatever. I throw him into the other side over here. He kind of goes down, rolls off. I don't know my strength. Like, at this point, I'm not whipping him around, but I'm like, that adrenaline rush comes over you. And I'm like, if I don't do this, he's going to kill me.
Well, you just got punched in the face, too.
I also did. That was the big, like,
Yeah. I mean, you're defending yourself to a degree.
Yeah.
He threw the first punch. You tried to de-escalate it beforehand.
I did. We should have never been at that catwalk, but nonetheless. So anyway, I have him down, and I'm now punching him, but he's kind of not on all fours, but he's down where his face, he has to turn like that. So I'm trying to hit him in the face, and he keeps turning. So I'm essentially punching him kind of in the back of the head. And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to punch him in the head. Like, I want to punch him in the face just to get him back for me, but I don't want to keep punching.
You want to give him brain damage.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, and I don't want to. So I don't want to kill him or some,
Yeah.
So I kind of lean off for a second. He sort of turns, and I'm taking one good swing, and I hope I hit him. So I go to swing. He kind of ducks out of the way, sort of turns. I trip over him, then over the sidewalk. I hit the fence. I land in this it's like a little sort of ditch thing that had glass in it.
Oh.
I land, so I'm doing the punch, the follow through on the punch, but I trip. So I literally land right on this arm, like right fully on the elbow, nothing else, glass in there. I get up and I go, I get up, and I'm mad because now this hurts, and I've been punched in the face, and I'm upset. And now I'm like just fuming. So I stand up and I go like that. And as soon as I do that, he looked at my arm and he goes, whoa, 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 whoa. Because this looked like it exploded. That's how, because it was all mangled. So from his view, there's blood dripping down all over. So it looks like my bone may have gone
like
through my skin. Like, he has no idea. And it's just covered in blood. And he's like, so we have to like stop the fight. Thank God he did that. But yeah. And so that was, and then I had to go to the hospital, get stitches. all that stuff. And I mean, it wasn't nearly as bad as it looked eventually, but they did have to do the stitches, and I couldn't move it for quite a while.
Well, that whole encounter was still very riveting. Like, I feel like the way you painted a picture there, it was pretty cool. Like ripping his shirt off and all that.
I mean, it was,
you sounded like kind of a badass.
I will say there was a vote taken that said I won the fight, although it was called as a technicality and I lost based on the fact I could not continue.
Yeah.
But this was not a sanctioned fight. So there was some murmurs around the school the next day that I, in fact, was the dominator of the fight, which he, of course, did not care for and tried to go again, which I absolutely thoroughly refused. And
this is the same dude who had already lost to the other two guys, right?
Same guy, lost to two guys, also lost to another guy later on, and we walked home together that day and became friends. I mean, we were already friends. He's been to a couple shows, actually. This guy too. So, like, we have no.
You got to give him points for perseverance, though, for getting his ass kicked multiple times and just continuing. He just wanted that win.
He wanted that win. I don't think he ever quite got it.
Well, it sounds like the closest was with you. That technicality was sort of a he can try to claim.
Although
that he
again,
won that.
I can't stress this enough. I was voted the winner. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned that before, but if there was a vote taken, it was unofficial. Probably led by Greg.
That
fucking Greg. But yeah, that's
the worst injury. Though?
That's the worst injury, just as far as like having to go to the hospital, stitches. Like, I've never had a broken bone, thank God, and stuff like that. But that was the worst one as far as, and it looked like at first it looked like my arm like my bone exploded through my skin.
That's why I'm thinking you sounded and probably looked like such a badass, because not only was it so gross, but you're the guy who's also still like, let's go, and you're still like Wolverine or something, just want to keep sparring. That's great.
And the look on his face was, and I don't know what he's looking at, right? Because I mean, I can feel it, but you have so much adrenaline that you have no idea. Obviously, I know I've just fallen on my arm, but I'm just thinking I've scraped it. I don't realize that he's looking at, a full explosion of blood all up his arm.
You look like a madman now, still wanting to just get in on get on with the fight.
He thankfully stopped the fight, and I don't know how the bets. Greg was probably taking bets. I don't know how they paid out, but yeah.
There's two disqualifications you've talked about tonight. First the cue cards, and now the tripping on the glass.
That's right. That's right. Disqualification has been a huge part of my my life, it seems.
Oh well, you've picked the right path. It would also seem with the comedy. I mean. Well, I've got a couple more weird random ones. What's the craziest conspiracy theory in your mind? And what is a conspiracy theory that you actually believe in?
Oh, God.
Unless that's too much of a rabbit hole to go down.
So what was the first one?
Like, what do you think is the craziest conspiracy theory that some people seem to believe in? One that's gained some traction, but it's just like...
Oh, man. I like, part of me wants to say all of them. I've never heard one that, I mean,
well, it depends. If we're talking like the Kennedy assassination, you're like, okay, it seems like there could have been some shady shit there, but birds aren't real. That was a thing for a while. I don't know if you ever heard about that. That was proven to be some
there
bullshit.
Was what do they call them? Lizard people living under the city or something. I heard that for a little while.
I thought they were running the world. That was the theory.
Well, they also, I think there was a time where they said they created COVID to keep everybody inside so they could get down into the sewers. There was a lot of that.
I did not hear this one. I guess you already answered the other half of that question about believing in any of them.
Well, the other half of that, there was a time.
You're like, I'm a lizard person.
Oh, imagine. And I just disappear under the.
You find a sewer I didn't know about.
So during COVID, I went from touring all the time to like no touring at all. I also, right before COVID, I left my, I got rid of my apartment. I went to LA. So I was in LA, not living there, but my buddy and I, we had a Airbnb house that we rented for 3 months. We were doing that. Then we had probably, I don't know, 80, 85 cities booked on a tour from April, May, June, and a little bit of July. So we're going all over the place. It was all ready to go. And then within 2 days, when COVID happened, it's all gone, right? So I come back to Canada. I quarantine on my own in a hotel room for 2 weeks, but not touring, which was like, I'd never gone that long just in one place, like for years.
Yeah, totally different experience.
Yeah. And then no shows at all for months. I started, unfortunately, my brain and my mind started seeing like, you know what? I think they are fucking us here. This government might be, I think they are. What is this all about? I started getting into that a little bit and losing it a little bit because it was just the total opposite. So I got in like almost a real fight, but it was like definitely an argument with a really good friend of mine. We would never have, argued like that. And I was just being such an idiot. And I just remember at one point, it was almost like waking up. Like I was like, what is going on here? And I had to, pull myself out of that pretty quick. But that was the closest I've ever come personally to like getting even remotely involved in that realm, and it was pretty scary for
that shit was dividing so many people too. Like,
yeah,
whatever part of it you're talking about, it was the most common thing I was seeing was just friends or family members, and everyone was on one side or the other. It was so crazy how you had to be so far in one camp or the other, and there was no room for conversation.
Yeah, the thing for me that started was that it was being. It didn't have to be the way it is, and they're doing it on who's they exactly, but they're doing it on
lizard people.
They're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
They're doing it on purpose. Why? I have no reason. They're just doing it on purpose to do it on purpose. They want, I don't know. Right.
Yeah.
Like there was no answer, which is how it's stupid, but there also, it was a time where I was like, I'm 30 something years old. Because I left my apartment and because all of my income is gone, I moved some stuff into my mom's basement when I left. Now I'm living there at the height of COVID because there's there's nothing I'm doing. And I'm like slowly, like literally losing my mind, or that's at least what
I think
it felt
was
like.
happening to a lot of people.
Yeah. And it was, it was really wild. And like, cause normally, I mean, if somebody tells me a theory or whatever, I will listen and just let them go because I'm fascinated they believe it, but it doesn't change. Like at the end, I'm just like,
in a big deal.
No.
Yeah.
If that's what you think or whatever, totally cool with it. And I love the way some people explain it because I love a good story of like, they're putting the chips in the liquid, and then when it shoots out, it becomes a chip again or whatever you know what I mean? And I'm like, fuck yeah. This is, where normally I'd be like, this is great entertainment. Now I'm starting to be, every time, what's his name? Ford, Doug Ford. Every time he'd be on TV, I'd be like, this fucking guy, he's not even wearing a mask. And he's telling, and now I'm, so
yeah, but then he swallowed a bee, so he got his. Did you ever see that footage?
Swallowed a bee? No, I don't
it was
think
on the news like 4 months ago or something like that. He was just like doing a press conference somewhere and just like, hey,
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and then
that's amazing.
Swallowed a bee there.
It's coming from the health sector. I just swallowed a bee.
He like dictates what
swallowed
happened.
A bee there.
Yeah, you got to watch it.
Oh,
my
man,
God.
that's so good. No, I've never seen that.
Look at that shit tonight, man.
But yeah, that's that time was the closest I've ever come to even getting involved in that. Otherwise, I'm out of it.
Damn, these have been pretty fun, actually. You never know how the random questions are going to go, but these are great answers. Something you wish you never saw? Like your grandmother naked or something.
No, this is, if this is too bad, you can just take this out, right?
Yeah. If you change your mind about it, yeah. And then we'll
No,
just have
I'm saying if you change your, my grandpa died.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, this is a morbid story?
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
no.
No, I don't care.
Should I not?
My
this
brother's
is
a funeral director, so
What's that?
My brother's a funeral director. I've talked to him about some of that gnarly stuff.
Yeah, my grandma, they didn't live together, so like when he died, she didn't see him, and then he got taken to the, so she never saw him dead.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not
corpse.
funny, but she just
No.
So she wanted to see. She wanted for closure.
Yeah.
She wanted to see it, right? But she didn't want to go alone. My mom wouldn't go, so I was like, I'll go. I should not have done that. I regret that. I wish I never saw that. It was
Damn.
not. It was in a.
How old were you at that time?
I mean, I was in my 20s,
Oh, okay.
early 20s. I wasn't a kid, but
But it's someone you've seen so alive.
yeah, and it was not a it was a human, but it was not a human.
It's like a
You know what
mannequin almost.
Yeah, but like a melted one.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know that I've ever seen a dead body, to be honest.
It was not a smart move. We both immediately regretted it. Okay, they warned. I remember them saying, like, whoever the funeral person was like, just so you know, he's not going to be what you remember, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it should have been a little stronger. Like,
Oh, this
hey,
is
it
gonna-
looks like
yeah.
we left him in the sun for
It
like
looks like he got microwaved.
quite
or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
I left him in the microwave along with my lunch this afternoon, and you should know that before you go down there and horrify
more
you
honest
and your
disclaimer.
grandson, is what should have been said.
Damn.
But yeah, and I think we both, I think even though she needed that, I think she also sort of regretted that. And I wish I didn't. Yeah, I wish I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's I think it takes a different type of person to have to be able to deal with that on a daily basis. Like I said, my brother, he's had to like embalm people and stuff. And like, I mean, kudos, because it needs to be done by someone, right? And there is a beauty to that service and providing that for someone who's grieving. And I understand that whole side of it, but I could never do that shit.
No, me neither. No, no. Good
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
It's some of the stories are definitely unsettling. But I actually work with another lady. She doesn't work there anymore, I don't think, but at the hospital. And she, prior to working at the hospital, she had like a painting service with her husband. And then right after that, they went somehow transitioned to a job where they would do like the cleanup at like crime scenes and shit like that. Like where people had died, they would like clean up all the blood or whatever. And she told me some pretty crazy shit about like finding people that were like covered in flies head to toe because they've been in there for like weeks, and the stench and pretty gross stuff.
Damn,
Or it's slippage, which is a thing where their like skin like comes off when you pull the arm because it's like not really fully attached anymore.
Oh my God.
And you were worried your story was going to be too graphic.
Yeah, it was. Oh God.
A little squeamish. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially when someone's arm skin comes off. That's my line.
This must make your grandfather's story seem a little bit more.
Yeah, actually, it was quite delightful. Now that you mention it, I'd do it again over having to hear that shit again.
Oh, goddamn. Well, you still managed to keep it funny and light there. I appreciate that. I guess that's pretty much it. I'm just going to ask you that.
You went the other way on that.
You brought it around, though. You brought it around. I'll ask you the season 4 question we've asked everyone so far this season, and then we'll get out of here. It's what is the shittiest job you've ever had?
Oh,
You hated the most.
all right. The one I hated the most?
Or either or. Whatever you think fills that. Like,
Yeah.
the one you would never want to do again that you fucking hated every minute of it.
Yeah, we got quite a few choices here because I've hated all of them. What's the worst one?
Sometimes it's a certain boss, too, that couldn't really do it. Solidify that decision, which is the worst.
I was really good at getting jobs. I was very good at getting them. I interviewed really well, and I think they always thought this guy's going to be here for quite a while. He's probably a hard worker. He presents himself well. But what they didn't know is I only needed the job for a certain amount of time until my tour dates picked back up again, and I was going to quit or get fired. either one, whatever came first.
That was your dirty little secret that you would never tell.
But I would sit in that. I would sit in that interview and be like, absolutely, I am dedicated to stocking the produce here for as long as you need me to be here. And then 6 months later, I'd be like, all right, I'm out.
I lied.
Yeah. The worst one, oh man. The worst one was probably delivering coffee in Toronto. You know, here's the thing. I hated all of them while I was there, but when I look back on them, they all played a significant role in where I am right now. So the thing I hated about delivering coffee, when I say delivering coffee, it wasn't like cups of coffee. It was like going to a business and restocking their coffee machine that they make
Some
all
guys
day.
do that for chips or whatever.
Yeah. And this was coffee. So you had to not only bring new coffee and stock it and all their creamer and all that shit, but also you had to clean the machines and open them up. And it was just like, they were dirty every day because it's all coffee grinds get all over the place and whatever. So it was in Toronto. I didn't have a car. It was a Subway, and I had to start at 7 a.m. Start at 7 a.m., which means get to the Subway, get on the Subway, ride all the way there at 6, whatever, to start at 7. I hated it so much. And I hated... The reason I wanted the job is after your 2 or 3 week training, you got your own truck, and you were just by yourself. So I didn't have anybody to... looking over me.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like those kind of jobs. But the actual work of the job was just like people, if their coffee machine wasn't working and you were 5 minutes late, I mean, you got like, where the fuck have you been stares or, like
Caffeine
it was just,
addicts up
yeah,
in your
it was
ass.
brutal. But as bad as it was, it, I believe was the last real regular job I ever had. And the reason was, the owner was this old man, and it's called Mr. Coffee. Sorry to call you out like this, but it was called Mr. Coffee. This isn't bad, but the owner, who was an older gentleman, there was a factory, a warehouse where you would come and pick up all of your stuff, and that's where your truck would be parked, and you'd load it up and head out for the day, and that's where you'd go back at the end of the day, right? In that warehouse, he kept his boat, this beautiful... not a motor, not like a little boat, not a yacht either, but, a boat that you would attach to a car, drive, and then get in, and then you drive it around. But it was like really nice leather seats, beautiful boat. And he kept it in that warehouse. And I would come in at 7 a.m. to deliver this shit fucking coffee. And I'd look at this guy's boat and I'd be like, I can't believe I'm here doing all this shit. And this guy's got a boat. He's not here and he's got a boat. And I know he had to build all this. I get that. But I'm fucking paying for his boat, which I wasn't. I was, $15 an hour or whatever is not paying for his boat.
No, but he's sleeping in somewhere.
That's
probably.
right. And he gets
Waterbed.
to use that boat. He gets to take that to his lake or wherever, a cottage or whatever the hell he's doing. And I would look at this boat every day and I'd be like, I do not want to be working to pay for someone else to have a boat in a warehouse. I want a boat. I want my own boat. So whatever I have to do in my life for me to have a boat instead of paying for this guy's boat. And he was like a nice gentleman. He wasn't an asshole. It wasn't about him. It was about that fucking boat and what it represented. And I said, I would much rather not be here and do something for myself so that someday I can have that boat and keep it in my own warehouse or wherever I keep the warehouse. I don't even like boating.
It's like a mixture of envy and respect.
Yeah, I respect what you built, but I don't want to be the guy giving you your boat. I want my own boat, and which I don't. I could give two shits about a boat. I would never even use a boat.
But
it was what it represented.
The boat
right?
is a placeholder. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I would stare at it every day. Every day I would come in, and eventually I thought, hey man, what if you kept the same hours as you're doing now. You start at 7 a.m., you go till 4:30 p.m., but instead of coming here and delivering coffee, what if you got up and you tried to book a show? What if you spent all day booking shows, booking tours, doing promo, doing marketing, doing whatever you got to do? Surely if you did that for this amount of hours and you put the 45, 50 hours a week in that you're delivering coffee to give him a boat, surely if you did that for yourself, would you not eventually get a boat? Would that not eventually, would you not eventually make at least what you're making here, but it's for you and doing something you want to do?
Yeah.
And I left that job. I kept the same exact hours. I started every morning at 7 a.m. I didn't have to get on the subway. I just would walk out to the living room or the kitchen table or my desk or whatever, get on the thing. By the end of the first week of doing that, when I left there, I had made $2,000 in corporate bookings, the biggest I had ever made in my life to that. I could not believe it. And that was just like deposits. Those were just from, 5 or 6 shows, whatever I booked. That's what I had by Friday of the first week. And I was like, maybe we're onto something here.
Well, that's because you were able to stay strict with yourself. It sounds like, though, because a lot of people would be so tempted if they're just at home to be like, oh, maybe I'll start at 9, and
that's right. And that's what I did. Every other job I ever had, when I got fired or quit, I was like, oh, great. I don't have to get up
Get comfy
today.
again.
Yeah. So I'll get up at 9. I'll go for a little walk, or I'll have a little shower and a breakfast, and by 11 we'll get started. Well, by 11, why don't I just flip on a quick episode of something? And now it's 12 o'clock and I still haven't started. And now it's 2 o'clock and I've been on my computer, but I haven't really done anything. And then it's 3:30.
The nap sounds pretty sweet.
Then at 4, I send 5 emails and I go, nobody's getting back to me today because they're on their way home. Meanwhile, I've just started. Now we got to cycle through it the next day. And then you go, well, fuck, this doesn't work. I'll never make it. I've tried everything. No, you didn't try, actual hours. This is a job. This is a business. And it's not, go out, have a show, do 20 minutes, have some drinks, eat your chicken wings, go home and expect that you're going to get what you want. Yeah. It doesn't work that way. And, so that was the worst job, but ended up being the best.
Helped you manifest where you are now.
Absolutely. And the other job I was thinking of was a sales job that I had, which was I still don't know what we were selling. I don't know what we were selling.
It was just like weird acronyms and stuff.
It was something to do with calling companies that do business in America and they export things or import things or whatever, and you could get them money back that they overcharged them. I don't know how. I don't know why.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It was like a loophole they found in the system and they hired a bunch of guys to sell it. Whatever I'm explaining to you isn't even that's the base level of but how do you sell that? One question and I'm like, I don't know, So
Tap out right away.
But what it did was they had a database of, I think, 7,000 companies across North America. And I would go in every day, and instead of finding companies to call to sell to, I'd go in, find a contact email, go home and email them about doing corporate shows. And that's how I booked my first maybe 5 corporate shows in my
That's incredible.
in my career was all because of that. So, when you look back on it in the moment, you're like, fuck, I hate this and I don't want to get up and go there. But then, now you look back on it and go, well, I kind of needed.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of thinking outside the box on your part too, that I wouldn't discredit yourself,
Yeah, I think
Not
it's
everybody would
illegal
do
in
that.
some way.
Yeah,
'Cause
I was thinking
you know what I
that
mean?
too,
But it's been long enough. And
Yeah.
I don't know if the company's still around, and who gives a shit? It worked. So.
Well, we'll end on that note, man. Thank you so much for coming.
We'll end on that legal blunder there at the end.
This has been really fun, man. I appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thank
I
you
know
for
you're
having
touring
me.
like crazy, so it means even that much more that you're willing to take the time out and stay this long and all that. So.
No, this was great. Thank you, Brian, for everything as well. It'd be amazing if right now he was like, "Okay, I forgot to turn everything on."
We've had some stuff like that happen in the early days.
How many times have we, you film something or you do something, but it's all part of it. And congrats on all this. This is really cool.
Thank you, man.
Good
I really
for you
appreciate
for doing
that.
this. This
Thank
is
you.
like, a lot of people think about doing stuff like this, or maybe they do one or two, but they don't keep it going, or they find reasons to not do it, or this isn't working or whatever. But I mean, you've set this up, you've got somebody running it that actually gives a shit.
Well, and me and my dad, we could spend lots of time together doing this, and before you were working, before you retired, and I was busy having kids and stuff. So it's been a nice little pocket to fall into, and we've had so many cool people stop by, and I couldn't be more thankful.
Yeah. Well, good for you.
But thank you again for coming, man.
Anytime,
we high five
man.
at the end.
Yeah. Let's do it.
That's it. Bye-bye.